We're live. Whoa, sorry to keep you friends. It's been a bit of a mad day for me. So it was running a little bit late. I only got given this laptop about 20 minutes ago, so it's my boy's laptop, and he's set it all up for me. Anyway, I'm grateful to be joined by Martin Leaker, Flat Earth British, and my good friend Richard over in America, Ceiling Fan Man. Do you guys want to say good evening?
Rich, after you.
Well, I'll say good morning or good afternoon. It's about noon out here, and I'm just so thrilled to be able to talk to you again, Dave. I just love our conversations, and thrilled to actually get to share the screen with such a great person next to you, Martin. So this is really a compliment. Thank you very much for letting me be in here. So
awesome.
And if anybody doesn't know who I am, I started because this thing behind me. This is, you can look it up. It's the Mariner 9 satellite. It's supposed to be flying around Mars in the 70s. But see, there's a light chain. See, they didn't CGI out the light chain. It's just a ceiling fan. So that's me. Anyways,
I love your name. I love your channel name, by the way.
Yeah, that I did.
And your videos, by the way. Richard makes great, funny. He's a really funny guy, and I love listening to him talk. And he's a man who's found so much truth in the Bible, and he's doing it a good service of picking out the stuff or understanding the stuff that's relevant to the way that the world is.
Yeah, and they keep trying to shut me down too, by the way. I just had another misinformation on my new channel because my backup is Ceiling Fan Man 2, and they just took down my video. I do a show on Friday night. They just took it down. So, and my regular channel is still on 2 strikes. I can't go on there till the 10th of April. So, yeah. They can fight us, but they can't get rid of us. We're still here.
Yeah. Well, one of the kings of having his channels taken or stolen or whatever is Martin Leaker. Why don't you tell us how you do?
Yeah, I got nothing to complain about like this guy.
The secret is to get loads of channels.
Martin and I had a fantastic street interview back in Cardiff. Seems like years ago, but it was days after you just had your channel, your 25,000 subscriber channel snatched. And it was a great interview if you want to go back and see it. I guess it must have been, it was the first thing we did. We met up with Mark Sargent that day in Cardiff.
Yeah, that's right. Nothing weirder.
Yeah. I can't remember. That's the beginning of, that had to be the beginning of.
It was 9/11, 2019 or 2018. Yeah, because you were putting 9/11 in chalk on the floor, which is why I remember. It's what sent the police over to get rid of us.
Oh, God.
A nuisance. Tell us how you're doing, mate.
Me myself.
Yeah.
Oh, just so much going on, Dave. My head is literally swimming around at the moment. I don't even know at this stage of the game.
Well, I'm grateful that you've agreed to come and have a chat with me. I do enjoy having you around for conversations. In
the last day or so, I've just been trying to empty my mind because I've just been on a roller coaster ride of information over the last few weeks, and it really does take its toll. So I've been left like a dribbling mess. So I've just been like trying to clear my thoughts and just go with the moment rather than thinking. Is what I've been doing the last day or two, just self-therapy to feel a bit better, I guess. Because I've been feeling like flattened by it all.
That's another thing that we never really even thought about, but we're all experiencing. Like, if you're a child now, just learning everything in the world, sometimes it's overwhelming. And my wife and I'll say, we just need to stop truthing for a night and maybe just put on some music or some stupid movie comedy just to get our head out of it for a minute and stop thinking, because it's everywhere. It's constant.
Yeah,
constant. Yeah. So I've been practicing that. You know, I get I'm emotionally attached to my emails, and they can be a roller coaster ride. And my comments, people tell me literally life stories. I hear it all, and I'm just like, some days, and sometimes people like to pour negativity my way, and I don't really do COVID, and I don't really do negativity, but I feel obliged out of politeness to read it in case somebody needs me or something, So I have to put myself through that, and I'm like, wish I'd read that.
Yeah.
But you can't.
Funny enough, Andrea asked me to read something that she'd been sent by a friend of ours from the channel. Marika has been talking to Andrea a bit and getting some solidarity between the sisters, which is so important at this time. But, she's also working her way through the sludge of information, and she forwarded on this what purported to be a letter written by a really highly connected member of the 13 families, and it was talking about how all of this was planned, and we were always ultimately going to be slaves, and that it was our kind of, there was a harvest coming, and really quite frightening stuff, and I think that what I've seen in the world is that they're trying to push all the frightening buttons, and if you're still in the mainstream, they're pushing mainstream narratives again to try and stoke different fires, those fires. And the same applies in the truth community, is that all those people who knew about, G5s and all the other sort of things, they're all firing off at high speed at the moment, and everyone's super frightened. People are frightened. And this is the nature of the game. So I think we're meant to be finding Zen. That's what we've got to be trying to find at this time is Zen.
Well, what I look at is the false satanic world we live in. It all runs on fear all the way up. Like each level is afraid of the level above it, whereas God's world is all run on love. And so the opposite of the fear would be love, and that's why the whole love thy neighbor as thyself. If we can figure out how to just like take no shit but cause no harm, and do that in our little area and expand it out, we would eventually just push all that out, because everything they want to tell us is all fear-based. Everything that comes over these screens.
That's how they control us, through the fear. And once they get people scared of something that's invisible with no proof of, then they've got them, And the Nazis knew this. This is why they were, petrifying people when we'll take you away to an internment camp if you don't go with the program. So everyone was scared to say anything against the state, and they were told the line, and this is how they got control. And they're just replicating it now, exactly the same. Yeah. Everyone's terrified of the invisible, like radiation in the Cold War. Yeah, that's invisible too. It's funny how all these deadly killers that we can't see.
And then if you try to say anything against it, then like we're finding, they just shut it down. Take your channel away because you're spewing too many things that might wake people up to the nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. A good way of doing it is conventions, as David will tell you, because they can't really, stop you when you're there on the stage, with YouTube. And another way is literature. So if you get a book up, your truth in there, get it published, then there's, you could.
That's what I'm hoping to do, guys. Is I'm hoping to be able to write some stuff. But
YouTube's dead for truth.
The convention. I have this energy rising in me to write and tell our story. But the convention idea I love. However, you tend to find people are already sort of converted in a way by the time they're willing to pay for a convention.
David, why don't you just write your account and the Trins account of the European tour? That was phenomenal. Just think about it. All what you did in Pisa, standing on them pillars, and in Rome, standing outside the Colosseum with a loudspeaker, stuff like that is legendary. You imagine writing all that down. What happened to Adam? The whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, there's stories, man. There's stories to be told there. There is the stories to be told, but I feel like humanity has like this. We have to. I spoke to this lovely family the other day in Glastonbury. What a wonderful.
I seen it, David. I watched that. Yeah.
Oh, cheers. Well, that was a real lucky strike, and I haven't been in the zone, and Portugal and a whole lot of other stuff this last year and a half of being without a home. So I haven't done the work in the street like I would have liked to have done. But there it was presented to me, and it was like, wow, man, this is what we're meant to be doing. And yes, the truth is that the earth is not a spinning rock, but there is so much more. And, the quantum physics stuff is so fascinating. I just have enjoyed learning more and more about that. And once I'm settled again, I plan to include that in whatever I present and write, because truly I can see God. I can see all of it. I can see how the universe is built and constructed. And so I feel like there is this, what we have been programmed to do is to take a subject and go, this is all you need to know. And I feel like our godhood, our godhead, our divinity, the thing that is most important, is the thing that we're meant to be finding our way back to. And so, I almost in a way, I feel like you maybe, guys, but my life was quite, naughty, let's just say, like I am a little bit of a naughty guy, and I have walked away from anything spiritual and have spoken harshly against it over the years and stuff. And here I am coming around all the way around the other side with a story to tell, just like the Globe Live thing and other things and so on. But with a story to tell, and I hope to use that as a vehicle to reach people, because it's the human story. This is why I wanted to have a channel that was a me. Here's my face. I'm a human. Here's my family a bit, and because our world is riven by people that you cannot trust, and so this is what I felt with this family is like when I talk to people now, I need to tell them about their divinity. I need to get to that story, because it's so pivotal to everything. And when I shut you down, if I say, hey, by the way, the Titanic never sunk, or it was replaced by its sister ship, or whatever, and you immediately go on the defensive about that, or that the Apollo boys really went to the moon, you really get on the defensive about that, then you're not going to hear anything else that I have to say. So it is a story. It's a whole story. Hey, and Flat Earth is fucking maybe the first chapter. I don't know. It maybe is the Genesis, but really, what the crux of it, at the end of it, is you and what we are, and yes, what's been taken from us, and what we should be working towards getting. And as Richard said earlier on, we do it in where 2 or 3 are gathered, in small numbers, because the truth is that the majority, as Matthew 24 will tell us, will be deceived, and that's the sad truth. But we have to keep trying where we can, eh?
Well, what I found is like when I first woke up to all this, it was like ring the bell, run around, trying to get as many people awake to it as possible. Yeah. And then I found out, just like anything, you can't convince someone of something if they're not ready to see it, or if God hasn't opened their eyes to it. So I stopped trying to do that. And what I do is I do my show or around my community. If somebody approaches me or asks me, then I'll explain to them what's happening. But I won't go up there and just try to shake it into them, because that's not going to work. But there are occasions, like you said, I did see that video where it just kind of developed where you were having a conversation with them. There was the other day I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was at a yard sale. And of course he goes like barefaced, no thing on their face. And he and his daughter were walking around, and they saw this woman with her probably 6-year-old son. And he apparently didn't have one of those things. So he took the plastic bags you would use to pick up dog poop, and he was holding that over his nose and mouth. And so he saw this, and he walked back to his car, and he sat down, and he looked at his daughter. He says, I have to say something this time, because, sometimes you just don't, but especially with a kid, And so he went over to the woman, and he said, that your son has a plastic bag over his nose and mouth, and that could kill him. And her answer was, thank you for your opinion. So, but the kid did take it down, and he walked away thinking, is there something more I can do? But no, there really isn't. But it's sad, because who's protecting the children? No one except us, people in these chats and on these screens screaming out, wake up, because your kids need it. I got a grandson that he's only seen his mother and father barefaced in his entire life now. He's almost a year old. There's a whole generation of kids growing up that they're only gonna know that, or it's sad. So it's up to us to just keep doing what we're doing, and you'll feel it when it's right to say something like you did.
Yeah, you're right. And I nearly wept today. I think it was at some point. I was like looking out at what's going on and seeing it all. It's heartbreaking. And some days it feels quite crushing. And I think Andrea is very sure about this, that there is astrology going on in the sky all the time, and that astrology varies depending on the placement of particularly the luminaries, the main moving bodies, or what most people know as planets. So when these things are aligned and certain powers and energies are in play, we think that the system is absolutely as milking those energy crests and troughs. And so we're all being put through the ringer at particular times, at particular dates, for particular moments in the energetic cycle, to take us towards something dreadful, towards something draconian. So we have to hold our ground, guys, because this is not going away anytime soon. But hey, I think I might be able to include Tommy that flat fellow. He's muted at the moment, but he might be able to join us in a second. When he comes, I'll introduce him.
What's up, Dave?
Oh, hey, Tommy. Thanks so much for dropping in.
Glad to be here. Hey, Ceiling fan man, Martin.
Oh, fat fellow.
For folks who don't know that flat fellow, I recommend subscribing to his channel too. He is one of my favorite street activists. He and Dr. La and a group of others get together regularly at a market stall. Great idea, and they flat smack, as they call it, people in the public. And I do enjoy watching some of those encounters. And actually, to be honest, they have been a little inspirational for me over the last few weeks because, yeah, I'm coming out of a bit of a, and I'm dealing with all my own shit, and we're all dealing with our own shit. So I don't want to be complaining too much. But so a week or so ago, I decided I wanted to do this this live because I knew my oldest son, was going to come and spend a few days with us. So I'd go grab hold of his laptop, and so I had that lined up in my head, and then we took this opportunity to go for a trip to Glastonbury the other day, and bang, I have this. Really, it felt really. I was doing the laundry, and I was like, "I've got the camera. I'm going to walk down the street and see how it goes," you know. And you guys saw how it went, and I had a great time. I was buzzing afterwards, up until I realized I'd lost the dog, Pebbles. But it was, for me, it was such a shot in the arm of going, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing in some way, shape, or form. And then in the comments section, Tommy puts a message saying, "Hi, we got a gift for you," and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And Tommy's a generous guy. He sent me a nice gift at the end of the Globe Live tour. I'll never forget that. So there's another man here who's sent me big gifts, but so that happened. So Tommy, and then this friend of mine, Drew, in New York, he used to be known as Drew FE. He's now could have stood or something. But I think, Drew, you got to change that name because you are standing, brother. You know, it's not too late. What we're doing today is what matters, not what we did yesterday. Or what we didn't do yesterday. And so Drew sends me a message early in the morning. He says, I'm listening to this guy called Media Bear, and he interviews someone who says, yeah, you got to go and buy some food from over there. They're doing a fundraiser for Dave. And he sent that to us. Andrea started crying when she saw that. Actually, when we saw that, it was like, what? They got $600 at the moment. They're trying to get to 1,000. And then Tommy sends me a message in the morning and says, oh, hey, we did a fundraiser for you, my friend, and we gathered $1,250.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my Lord. I mean, just that people would think about the stuff that I've, you know what I mean, the work that I've done, or the plight that we've created. Someone would say, I get some, unpleasant comments, and people suggesting, why don't you just go and get state benefit and a state house and register your child's birth and all that sort of thing. But I know there are people who know that what we're doing is all heart. It is all real. There is no the camera goes off and then I'm like a different kind of guy, because no, this is what we're doing, and the sincerity and the drive and the intention to do the right thing for God, for this creation, for humanity. That's a real thing, and to have that kind of noticed. I know I've had a decent. I've got a good subscriber base and great comments from you friends out there. But to have it noticed in that way by our cousins over in America, man, it's awesome. So Tommy, I just I've always wanted to have a chat with you anyway, but it seemed like a perfect opportunity to ask you to come and have a chat. I'm not sure I'll be able to do many live streams over the coming weeks, so this is like a one-hit wonder for now, and I'm really honored to have you come and join us here. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave. We were deciding what we would do last year. We raised money for street activism, but we said, what better way to raise money for street activism and help the community by raising some funds for Dave and his family. So we not only can we support our community, we could also support Dave too. And when word got out, I mean, at the end of the night, we were close to about $600 to $800, I believe. And then when word got out, and they were like, "Hey, they're raising money for Dave," and there's people just started coming by and dropping 50s and stacks of 20s, like what? So
Tom, by the way, it's nice. I don't think I've had the pleasure of talking to you before.
Sorry, I didn't introduce you guys.
Very nice to meet you.
Smooth fan man.
And
you too, brother.
Watching what you guys did, like I heard Brian mention it, and I was near tears. And then at the same time, going on at that, there's a gentleman in the States that he's had all kinds of horrific things happen to him, and we mentioned it, and same thing. There's probably at this point, I don't know, close to $1,000 that's been raised for him. So it's like this community is just so incredible. It's the
fact that it's all over, Richard. It's what they're like. They're just such big-hearted people. They're gorgeous. I love them all. That is just what they do. You know, they look after their own. It's just brilliant people. Love them all.
Some of the best people that I've actually never met, but I find closer to this family than I do a lot of people I know in real life. So yeah.
Same.
Well, I know I don't know all the people involved in setting that up, Tommy, and obviously all those who contributed, but it's a really heartfelt thank you. And, you know, there have been times on this journey when it feels super lonely, hey, especially when we've, you know, obviously not had the network around us because we've been on the road, because we haven't had our roots anywhere down. So, you know, there have been times when it's, been pretty dark, you know. And I have to say, yesterday was, a super, wow. I just had the buzz of that wonderful interview in the street in Glastonbury, and then such a magnanimous gesture. It's hard to.
You deserve it, brother. You deserve it. It's transparent what you do. People can see your nature and your family's nature, you know. So you just know people are clever.
Yeah, cheers.
So you deserve it.
Cheers. Well, once again, Tommy and all the American cousins. Much respect and much love and thanks from us all here, you know. We're kind of living it day to day, you know, and the situation at the moment isn't, you know, a long-term situation. But we're warm and comfortable, and we've got this plan, guys. It's a bit of a... It's a bit of a game changer, and it's actually partly why I'm kind of stressed at the moment, because we're trying to get out of the country, but there are admin issues, paperwork issues, passport issues that need to be resolved. And as you know, a lot of countries are reducing or restricting or limiting access to people, but we're very much trying to get out of the country at this point in time. We're planning to do it with another flat Earth couple who have a child the same age as Zizi, but I'll let you guys know more details as we can kind of confirm them. But at the moment, there's a lot of things up in the air because I mean, you have to know that this is the dial is maybe on 3 or 4 at the moment, and I think we've still got to get 7 or 8. In the next year or so before, you know what I mean. So that's my little kind of, you know, that's living in this kind of thing of going like, I don't want to be in the box. I don't want to be constrained in the box. I want to be. That's why we've gone to Portugal. You know, we wanted to be away in the mountains where we could raise Alexander in a way that wasn't all the, as you say, Rich, you know, mask face, and and all, you know, all the other inconveniences that come with it, and then, you know, the ability to be sort of more self-sustainable and so on. But I just want to come back to, you know, like the activism and to the kindness expressed. Firstly, to anyone in activism, you know, go and do it. You know, I would say find your way and find ways to do it, because it needs people doing it in small groups, in you know, or in one-hit wonders, you know, whatever. It needs to be done like that, because big group things are probably going to be hard to come by, and most people are so caught up with the current things that they're not going to be hearing some of what we're trying to tell them.
That's one of the frustrating things is we have all the information and the facts on our side, but they don't even want to listen to it because they're so controlled They don't want to hear any new information. It's frustrating.
Well, yeah, I mean, go on, Tommy.
I was going to say, I would just want to give a big shout out to Karen for hosting that event and bring everybody together, and then everybody that donated. And we couldn't have done it without Dr. La on the walk all day for 2 days straight. He did nothing but cook and clean all day long and serve everyone. So massive shout out to him.
Oh, massive shout out to
Wow.
And to go on what you guys were talking about, the Kakalaki crew was there. I don't know if you guys know, we're in South Carolina here, and we go out in large groups, 20 to 30 people sometimes, doing our street activism down there at the market. And we've had 50 different people, since it started, with just me holding up a sign that asked me about flat Earth, and word got around, and now 20 to 30 people have come out there at a time with us. And it's just such a blessing to be in an area with so many woke people and to be a part of this community, and everyone's so supportive. And we are changing minds here in this area. We'll talk to people, and when they leave the table, a lot of times they walk up with a mask. When they leave, it's down. And they'll even come up and talk to us about Law's cooking, because he'll cook right there at the table, and they'll say, you can't cook right now like that. You need to be, wearing protection with everything going on. And by the time we get done talking with them, he's rolling a burrito in his hand and handed it to him, and they're eating it right there with the mask off. So
that's fantastic.
That's fantastic. Yeah, you are inspirational out there.
We've gotten to the point where there's restaurants in this area that say we do not comply with any mandates or ordinances in the area. And one of the places even has up a billboard saying we do not require the mask to shop here. So we have made massive strides in our community, and we just hope that we can inspire everyone else to do the same thing, because Dave, you inspired us, man. You're the reason why I got out there, and I would never have done it without watching your stuff.
Thanks so much for saying that. Thanks so much for saying that. Well, you are doing wonderful things, and yes, I wanted to say, credit to Karen and the team who pulled that off, because the things are so tight around here. I didn't expect you guys to get that point where you were able to kind of get any kind of gathering together. So it was awesome that she had the courage and support to get that done. And Dr. Law, big thanks, brother. I'll definitely have a chat with you sometime on the live stream, and we can chew the fat, as it were. But do you feel like you're making good progress in your area, and you would inspire others? Go and subscribe to that Flat Fellow. And I think what I like about your style is that you're so calm and so unemotive about delivering the information. I know you're also quite a large man, so that probably helps you looking down on everyone. But your style is awesome.
I appreciate that, Dave. That means a lot coming from you.
Oh man. Well, we learn from each other, and we're meant to be, supporting one another and so on. I think I was gardening yesterday, and I thought this is what the world is missing is that we are meant to be in cooperation and not competition. The system has been so designed for us to want to compete, and rather than cooperate in order to kind of, so that everyone can flourish. So, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of that, and thank you, Andrea's here. I think she wants to say thank you too. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I was a bit taken aback because it came as a big surprise. Actually, really humbled by the gesture, and it made me cry. The money obviously is amazing, and we're so grateful for it. But it's the feeling that you have these people who've got your back, people that are, there for you. And at a time when it feels really lonely, it's felt hard sometimes to feel like we're walking this. And a lot of it we have to walk on our own because we are on a path. But to have, like you said, Richard, people that you feel like are your family, it's it was really, really, really humbling moment, and good. We're obviously navigating fairly funky energies, so it's 1 minute you feel one way and the next minute you feel another. So, but just a real big thank you means more than you'll ever know. And to Karen B and the crew that organised the event. Wow. How awesome it must have been to be together, because sure, we miss communing a lot. And when we do get the opportunity to be with fellow people who are in the same mindset or vibration as us, it feels really, really good. So just to have that sort of message come from that far away was just, well, it was like a shot of good vibes. So thank you very much.
Thank you for doing what you did on the Globe Live tour. You guys deserve all the good blessings that come your way. And what you guys did on the Globe Live tour, they inspired us here in the United States. We did a little mini Globe Live tour as well. We hit 9 cities in 9 days. Not as dedicated as what you guys did, but man, you guys are inspiring us day after day, and hopefully that we can just pass it on to someone else. Ripples in the pond. That's all we can do.
Sure, those feel like good days. Those feel like good times, because we would not be able to do that right now. So that was it was really hard, but oh wow, it feels like a lifetime ago as well. But we saw some of the stuff you did after we finished on the tour, and awesome.
Yeah, indeed. It's nice to be able to do activism in your own language, though. I have to admit, it's a little tricky in foreign languages, but we did our best. I just want to say, guys, I've misplaced my glasses, so I can't actually read the comments section. I'm really sorry about that. So I have been clicking on some kind of names that I could recognize, but I have no idea what.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I have no idea what.
That's actually why I'm here, because he needs me to read the.
Yeah, Andrew can
notes.
read some of the comments for me, but I'm sorry, and so apologies for that, but things are a little disjointed around here.
But you know what's funny? Because I have glitches that happen all the time on my live streams and stuff, and I come downstairs and I'll say to my wife, "Oh, I messed up here or there, I rambled here or there." And she's laughing. She's like, no, that's people like it. We're human beings. None of us did this as a career. This isn't what I wanted to do, go on these screens and have a bunch of my family and friends in real life disown me and stuff. No, we had to speak the truth that we were being told, and we put it out here, and we don't know what we're doing, and it shows, but it makes it human, and it's way better than any television I've ever watched in my entire life.
Absolutely, Rich. You're one of the most human guys that you present on YouTube. That's what I love about you. It's like you're talking to a mate on the phone. It's just a very natural. You just say what's on your mind. You don't mind being that guy in the classroom, just saying whatever he thinks. So.
Just whilst we're talking, Mighty Atoms saying Dave and Martin, hi. But who are the? Can you tell us who the other two are?
Well, if you're late to the stream, then on the left beneath me is that flat fellow,
Tommy,
and Richard, the ceiling fan man. These are friends that I've brothers really that we've adopted each other, I think, over the last year or so, year and a half, and I made contact with Richard because he was looking into Mount Meru. I think it was that you were looking into Mount Meru, and I'd made some connections a few years earlier about the possibility of Mount Meru being in Kilimanjaro, because there is a Mount Meru there, and it's a whole lot of a long story, but that's how we made contact. And Tommy was a guy who was a massive vocal and contributed to the Globe Live tour, and then has sparked a bit of a revolution in his part of America with his activism, and his activism is great. So please check his stuff out. He puts out content quite regularly, and they tend to be short kind of clips of people getting a dose of hard news, good news, or whatever. So that's who that is, and most people who are in my channel know Martin Meek, of course, and he's someone who I met. Right. Well, I mean, I was following before I had this channel. I was on my David Mantle channel, and that's where I started, watching Flat Earth stuff, and I was watching Flat Earth unfold in 2015, and guys like Martin were already sort of prominent, already putting content out. So he was one of the the bigger name guys, certainly in the UK, at that time. And then I think we met the first time at the first UK tour. I mean, what do you call it? Convention.
2018.
And shot the breeze a bit there, and then we've met a few more times since then. Yeah. And of course, I love his work on Tartaria. The amount of images and stuff him and Lee and the crew there come out with is just phenomenal.
It is phenomenal.
It is. But
for anyone that doesn't know me, I've said this before. I take the content from like these three smart people and I kind of dumb it down with comedy. See, I even brought a pipe so I could look a little cool like Martin Lidke, and
Sherlock Holmes it.
I have different ones. I wasn't sure if I should go with the corn cob or I've got a really long Sherlock Holmes one, but it's down.
No, the corn cob's good.
But no, I woke up to whatever this nonsense is going on. I started speaking my thing too, and of course, like I showed earlier, and you guys weren't on screen. See, we even have Martin's book here, and Trinity. I got to get yours, Dave. I haven't bought that yet, but
I got it.
That's okay. Mine is a war story, and it's not. It's a different kind of genre.
Remember, I lost your first book, David. I missed it. You went and run to your car to get me another one. Oh God.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Yeah, I know it's true. And I was just about to go as well, and you run to go get it for me.
Damn. He does a lot of running with you, Martin.
Oh yeah.
He ran for
I don't understand how a man can run like that at his years. No offense, David, but man, you would beat Linford Christie off the marks, especially after.
Oh man, guys, the story is. Well, I'm with Martin, and we're talking so much and it's like, yeah, this is the way to the bus, and this is the way I missed the bus. I missed the bus back to London, and it's the last one until I'm going to get home very late. I don't want to miss Alexander's bedtime and all this stuff, and Andrew's going to be pissed off with me.
But it was Jessica's birthday the next day.
And my daughter's birthday the next day. And
he was dead upset, though. You were really upset. He was panicking.
And I had to run to the buses, and I saw the bus, and I actually ran in front of the bus and stopped the bus in the street, right? And then
they all applauded when you got on. They all applauded.
Yeah, I did, because the bus. But then I thought he was going to stop just up the road, but he drove on for almost a mile because there was another bus stop just out of town, and I had to.
How did you make it to that stop?
I think my heart's already starting to kind of feel the strain of that day. Again, now, thanks for reminding me.
Hey, Mandela, though, you touched the wrong spot. It's in the middle now.
Yeah, it's over there.
Yeah, damn, yeah. Well, that is a good memory, actually. And actually, for friends who don't really know, you guys who maybe are newer subscribers to the channel, you won't know that this whole backstory to me actually going on the Globe Light tour. Oh my Lord above, the story behind me actually being on that tour would make a book all by itself, or short story at least. But to keep it short, like that when I missed the bus, that was like the Friday.
Yeah. And
on the Wednesday before, Robin, lifting the lid, said to me, "Why don't you go and meet them? Why don't you go and do some activism in Cardiff? And Mark Sargent will be there." And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to set aside all the bullshit about who Mark Sargent is and all this sort of crap. Then I'm going to dial back 2 days. Just 2 days before that, I'd said to Robin previously, I wasn't going to the UK convention. I was shutting all of that stuff out. And 2 days before, I phoned him and said, "Hey, listen, would you still give me a ticket? Would you still let me come to the convention? Because I was going to be a speaker there, right? Would you still let me come? Because I really feel like I need to go." And it was at that going that I spoke to Jason, and he said, "Would you guys be still willing?" Because I'll be honest with you guys, truthfully, I had expected the Globe Light tour to approach me and say at some point in the year and say, "Hey, are you going to come on the bus with us?" Because the guys who were organizing it had seen me the year before. They knew what I could do, right? So I'd kind of been expecting the call. And even in a conversation I had with some of the people in July, they'd not even bothered to mention it. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not whatever. And I think there may be one or two people that weren't necessarily keen on me joining the tour. Anyway, Jason says we could do with someone. And my wife Andrea says, we're not going on tour. We're not going on the camper van. Okay, so we're not going on the camper van. And so this is like so that was how all of that happened. And then we have, we're homeless and we go up to Scotland and we're on this freezing farm and what have you, and we're 2 weeks in, and Andrea says, okay, I'll go on the camper van. I'll go on the tour. And so then I call Jason. I say, Jason, what's the deal, man? He says, well, I've just gotten this job and I actually can't go when I was meant to go. So would you go? Would you go as early as like the 1st of November? Join Dave Murphy in Venice and take on from there. And I'm like, count me in as soon as I can get there, and
the rest is history.
Well, the rest is history. But of course, we were a motley crew. But that's a story for another book. But how I came to be, how I was out of it. 2019 had been a difficult year for me after that spiritual, I call it a spiritual attack on me at the end of 2018, and it messed my head up totally. I really struggled. I was kind of fearful going out into Speaker's Corner. So the whole year had been a bit of a write-off for me in terms of activism. And then, the tour was great, but it wasn't me like at my best in Europe by a long stretch. But it was an important stepping stone, and it also brought me into contact with some fantastic people. A little bit sort of put us on the sort of in people's minds a little bit, and obviously it's led to gestures like the one that Tommy and Dr. Law have managed to pull out the bag, thanks to Karen B's efforts there. So yeah, I know that we have something important to do, guys. I mean, I turned my life upside down 5, 6, 7 years ago. In fact, it's 10 years to the month since we found out that my mother was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, and by the end of this year, in November 1st, which is the same day we joined the tour, November 1st, she passed away, with me on the phone saying goodbye to her as she died. The plane had just landed in South Africa, but she was dying as the plane was taxiing into the parking lot. And Andrea she was with my mother, and she put the phone to my mother's ear, and I said goodbye to her. Then that's 10 years ago, and that was the catalyst that set this whole journey of writing my original book, my book about the war, and then stumbling into an opportunity to spend a year researching stuff I'd never looked at before, the truth stuff, So Andrea nearly divorced me because I spent 18 hours a day for more than a year just totally immersed in a new field of research. And in that period, obviously, I stumbled into the flat Earth, and so it got to a point where I was like, damn, we have to talk. Good men have to stand up, because if we don't, evil will prosper. And you are good men, and that's why I'm happy to invite you, because you are standing as we should. In fact, today, sorry to be on a monologue here, but today I spoke to an old war friend of mine, actually, a guy by the name of Warren, and he's a big deal in the banking business now. But I said to him, I've been wearing one of my that bush jacket, that army jacket that I didn't steal. I took it off a burning truck in the combat zone, and it wasn't somebody's. It was a truck full of the clothes, and it had been blown up by a fighter pilot. But I'm wearing it. I've been wearing it because really we are back at a war now. I'm not suggesting this is a war of weapons in the traditional sense, but we are in a war. But the problem is that there's very few men that are left standing now. Mm-hmm. And we need to do, men and women too, of course, but we need to stand, and we need to do what we can in God's name and in the name of humanity.
Well, I saw this meme and I've used it in my videos. It's a little kid looking up, and the last thing you want to do is to have a little child look up in your eyes and say, well, if you knew this was happening, how come you didn't do anything for me?
Yeah, I've seen that meme. It's a cool meme.
Yeah. So it's like, I want to be able to leave wherever this existence is to the next place, to know that I did try. And that little kid didn't look up at me and say, why didn't you do anything? Even though most of my kids think, they love me, but they think I'm nuts. And I'm standing up for their rights that they're losing every day. And they don't realize that they don't see it at all. They think, the crypto and all these other things are going to save them. And it's all part of the same system. It's just relabeling it. And so we do these things, and the definition of a good man these days is just someone that speaks out for the truth and speaks out for the name of God. That's all a good man is nowadays, and there is so few of us. Most of them, I see giant muscle-bound, motorcycle-wearing, jacket dudes, whatever, and they're muzzled with a giant beard and muzzled with two different ones and stuff. And I'm like,
respect God.
The costume doesn't match the interior, because this is what you find is that oftentimes, and this is one of the surprising things about the last year is that people whose exterior gave you the sense that they were real men and they were going to stand up.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you as well, you too. Gosh, I
Wow,
wouldn't expect
such a
like
pussy.
you.
Well, that was the thing. Like here in the States, okay, we're the only ones, as far as I don't know how it is in your guys' country, but we're the only ones supposed we have guns left, right? I know England has no guns. Your cop shows are hilarious. People just cops run around and they pick up a stick and they go after a guy, you know? But it's like here in the States, that's all they talk about. Oh, they're coming for your guns. They're coming for your guns. You know, oh, they're not taking my gun. Well, they didn't. They didn't need to, because all they did was say, okay, won't take your guns. There's a scary monster outside. Go hide in your house. And everyone went, oh, okay. Can I take my gun? Oh, yeah. Go sit on your couch, eat your popcorn, hold your gun, watch Netflix, and we'll tell you when to come outside. Okay, but don't take my gun. I mean, it's like we rolled over faster than anything I've ever seen. I mean, I don't even know how it went with in the World War II thing, whatever that nonsense was. We're rolled over so fast here. It's sad. I'm embarrassed in this country. I am.
It's mind-blowing. They're going down to the shooting range with their mask. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
We saw old elderly people walking in a graveyard with a mask on. We couldn't turn the car around fast enough to take a picture. I wanted to, but it's like, come on, what are you doing? Like,
so bad.
The brainwash is so powerful.
Yeah, they killed it on the brainwashing. They really killed it on the brainwashing.
Yeah, I think they used bleach.
I think they did. We don't watch telly. Maybe they flashy thinged everybody who watched Queen's speech or something.
Yeah.
They all got one thing in common. They all watch the television.
Well, it's image making, isn't it? They just have to give you enough images of something, and then you start to believe it to be true. So
yeah, and keep repeating it, and it'll become true.
Yeah, and because we're essentially all traumatized at some sort of level, or have had
life anyway. We're all traumatized from life anyway, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. And so traumatized mind control, you just have to make people feel afraid, and you have to offer them that image enough times and the right words, and you will. You know, we're creators. Essentially, we're all creators, and we will co-create that new reality from the images and our trauma, because the biggest tool they have is guilt. If you make someone feel guilty, then we'll always do, because essentially we're loving beings, but we're traumatized loving beings, and we don't, and we're afraid of death. What do they say when you can come to terms with death? When you can come to terms with death, when you're not afraid of death, then you can actually start to live. What we're seeing is people that are incredibly afraid of death, and also how separated we are from God, or the Creator, or whatever you want to call the Most High, the Source. But we are so separated from that
each other,
and each other, which is essentially the same thing. That we don't have faith that we have that creator power, but boy oh boy we do, and we're seeing it happen just not in the way that we want, really. And that's what Dave and I think part of our mission or our guidance has been, is that we are hopefully going to help be on that path where we can show people that there is we are divine beings, we are creators.
100%.
It's hard, and at the moment the noise is quite loud when it comes to the other side. So we're walking a really really narrow path at the moment. And so I just want to send my love to everyone, because I am there with you when it comes to how hard this can be at times. We're a bit of a roller coaster ride when it comes to the emotions that we have to confront. But I think it's calling us all to find our courage,
Yes,
and our authenticity, and to connect back to what's really real, and that is our divinity, really.
Yeah, 100% agree, Ange. 100% agree. Yeah, we are definitely co-creators. That's why I really police my thoughts and care for what I'm thinking. I don't think anything bad about other people or anything exterior. And if I'm plagued by my own doubts, then I try to sort that out too, because that's where we fall. It's doubt. It's doubt, definitely. Doubts will, like they just bombarded them with this negative entity that everyone's just made into fruition. Now everyone's actually living it. It's almost as if they want to. It's like they're bad wired to some bad news. If you switch a television off, they feel the itchy need to put it back on because they're bad wired to bad news. It's a sort of entertainment in a way for them, guys. It really is. They don't got sport anymore. They pull the plug on any entertainment. All they have to think about is this all the time. And they were a hypochondriac nation anyway. You could tell them they have anything and they'd have believed it. So they nailed it. They knew the people were going to be petrified. This is they just stopped lockdown. It's a completely different vibe to a year ago when they lifted lockdown. I noticed this time everyone's talking to one another. Last year it was like ghost town and lockdown was over. It's like everyone come out, but they were still petrified at that stage. They were literally thinking, I don't know how they've all felt because I haven't felt any of it. I haven't even got, involved in any of it because I know it's just all rubbish. But today was really lovely, the way people were interacting. It was, really, everybody was out, and I've seen hardly any masks, in my area. People are pretty sensitive. Yeah. So,
No, but Andrew's right. We're traumatized from the moment we're born. What do? They sever the connection to mom, and then they start injecting the kid in the feet, which is like the most sensitive spot, with all kinds of nonsense. And then they give you a bill in the United States. Right now, I think our debt clock means we're almost about $500,000 in debt the moment you're born. And they give you a receipt. They call it a Social Security card and say, here you go. You now are a slave for $500,000. Most of it's owned by China, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, they traumatize us from the second we're born. Right?
Well, I think we're even carrying our parents or a generational vibration too, because you'll pass it on in utero, and of course that's been passed on then in the way that we parent. Not to say that I'm insinuating for a second that parents are trying to do their best and in the most loving way. I know that is always our intention, but I know for sure that I have transferred some of my beliefs and my behavior patterns and conditioning to certainly to my older children, and it just continues. I mean, if you think about the generation that's probably most affected at the moment, will be the ones that went through the Second World War, and of course after that they were told to just now come, you're out of it. We need to live life because it's all good, and all of the trauma was just swept under the table. Yet it's still there in our emotional bodies, and of course all the freedoms that people had taken away from them by that event, those freedoms were eroded, further. We just got born into it, So you don't notice it. If you ask your great grandparents to come back and look at the state of the freedoms that we have or don't have, they would be. I mean, even if you just came back from a year, if you'd been away on a desert island for a year and came back, you'd probably pass out from shock if you had to walk around and think you were in some kind of horror movie. Although you say out in Wales, it felt pretty normal today. Is that how it felt?
Felt normal today, yeah. Not too many masks. I think people feel ashamed now because everyone else is not taking them notice. The neighbours are coming up and talking to one another. In fact, it was the most people I'd seen today for quite some time. Probably this year. It was lovely, and it was a beautiful day in Wales. It was absolutely beautiful. 21. It was gorgeous, yeah.
You guys set an example for us out here. We're just it's ridiculous. I mean, even the fact that you can't even be the I think this whole thing was a lie. They say the best way to enslave someone is to make them think they're not enslaved. And so, hey, we broke away from you guys, you horrible British, and now we're over here and we're a sovereign country. No, it was all just smoke and mirrors. And to prove it, every channel in YouTube, like anybody that doesn't know me, I can't go on my regular channel. My new one's almost getting striked out. And you can't say not only certain words, you can't talk about this, you can't say this word. And now there's a letter of the alphabet you can't say. Okay, it's between whether it's an R and S somewhere in there or P and R. Okay, you can't say that letter. You say it too many times on your channel, they take you down because they think you're some crazy conspiracy nut job.
Rona or Vid. I'm supposed to go for my Rona injection next week, according to the letter that come through the door. And I've had the census people banging on my door, insisting I tell them everything about my life. Or they're going like, they've done a second knock. I got 2 days or £1,000 fines. Like I trained my rabbit to eat big scary letters, which he did. So,
so we have no free speech. We just pretended we did. We thought we did. You know. And we walk around. I got Constitution. I would walk in and say, now if you actually have a Constitution, you're a radical, and it doesn't even matter because they can do stuff to you, and then you can have a day in court and you'd win. However, the courts are all jammed up because of the nonsense. So it's just it's an endless cycle, spiral, whatever you call it.
And you're kind of rural where you are now, Richard. You're quite a rural area? Do you feel like it's different for being in the rural area, or it's similar?
I would say I'm not in a country rural area. I'm in a smaller town.
Okay.
But the area that I'm in the Pacific Northwest, they're very I don't know even how to put it, but they're the people that think the planet's dying and all this stuff. And so it's really funny. For a while there, they were all like, oh, we got to get rid of all plastics and all this, right? And bags and straws and get all that. And then this, I call it the Canani, came, and everyone started putting all these masks and gloves on. And then they just throw them all over the ground, like the environment. Screw that, we don't care anymore, But they're walking around on the beach with these things on. They're driving by themselves. I see a guy riding a bike wearing it, outside.
If this plague was real, they would make them a help. That would be illegal to chuck these masks everywhere. The whole world, the whole plane is covered with these stinking masks. Yeah.
Well, my wife was a nurse for 30 years, and if they had something that was like environmentally hazardous, they had these special red bins, and you stick it in there, and they got incinerated. Why don't we have it all over the world? They should be everywhere.
On the end of your street to put your mask in. Why haven't they got that in a plane? Exactly.
Yeah, people hang them from their rearview mirrors or on their dashboard, like the dirtiest part of the car. And
I took a photograph.
I
took a photograph Christmas of a Christmas mask tree, and it had 8 hanging on it. And I took a photograph of the tree. It was just 8 masks hanging on it.
One for every day of the week.
Yeah. 2 for Sundays. Wow, look at that.
My mother was an intensive care nurse for many years in my childhood, and so she worked with some of the sickest people around. And there was never ever a thought about her bringing anything, concerning home or anything like that.
Yeah, they don't think like that.
But how about you, Tommy? Are you more rural out in Georgia, or is it just because you said people are a little bit more open-minded? Do you feel?
Everyone around here seems to be very open-minded. I'm in rural South Carolina, and in a town with about a population of under 300, and you couldn't see a neighbor if you wanted to out where I'm at. So
wow.
And South Carolina just passed a new mandate where we're authorized to form militias. So
wow.
This is a very woke area. Everyone in the community seems to be moving down here from Bobby County and Globe Busters and Baldini heading this way now.
I see.
There's just a lot of flat earthers here in this area, and it just seems to be a very woke, safe place of the country where everyone knows what's really going on and no one here seems to care. It's just life is normal. All the businesses are open. Everywhere's hiring. And I just feel so bad for people in other areas. And, we're out changing the minds of the people that are still the holdouts. But, I always think to myself, if you want to change, you got to get out and be the change. Set an example. So that's what we're doing here.
And you are a fantastic example of it. So, actually, while I'm thinking about American activists, I haven't seen Josh for a while. Authentic Intent. Is he still okay? Is he still doing work out there? Do you know?
I have not seen him in a while.
Oh.
You know, yeah. Well, if anyone knows him, please send him our good wishes, because I know he's got his own health challenges, but he's been one of the bravest, longest-serving activists that I can think of. You know, aside from the English guys like Harry, Marilyn Spirit Level also, as far as I know, kind of fell off the. She was doing such great work trying to, you know, get out there and antagonize people a bit. But yeah, best wishes to anyone who's doing activism. I think it's essential. It starts in a small way, but I think if you can get to a level where you're like Tommy, you know, where you're delivering information in an interesting but impassionate kind of way, you know, where it's not like the early days, or our friend Zoom Truth, Dave, who I've been trying to get on my channel for a while. If you're listening, Dave, much love to you, my friend, and I would have you on anytime.
Squirrel Sniper says he has gone off YouTube but still doing stuff.
Who, Authentic?
I'm not sure. Didn't say. He just said he has gone off YouTube.
Well, anyway, best wishes to all of them. Yeah. So yeah, if you can, you know, because in the early days we were a little bit kind of frantic sometimes in the bear pit, you know, with some of that, and you know, it's hard to get used to in the beginning. People kind of abusing you a bit. So you know, yeah. So I admire, you know, because for me it was a bit of a journey of self, kind of, you know, teaching myself to be.
Yeah, Josh, he said.
More, yeah. Okay. Yeah. To be more kind of controlled and just about the information, and trying not to get too bogged down in straw men kind of arguments and so on. Anyway, that's enough from me.
I have a question for you, Dave. I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I got this theory now in my head. So you know how we've discussed before, you know, the 3-dimensional toroidal field, all that stuff. So let's take the place that we live in. Let's say the ball shape would be a firmament all the way around, and in the middle is the area we live on. That's the flattish plane. Below is the shale, hell, whatever, and above is the heavens, right? And it's all within that sphere. Okay. Yeah. So then if the devil, say whatever you want to call the forces against us, they can only mimic and not create. So within that, what if they create the little tiny dome, like in that TV show, The Dome, and they put it over us? And so now really the only way we can really connect to the creator would be down on our feet to the ground, because that's still his creation, even though everything else has been sealed off with the chemtrails or whatever you want to call it. And so when you find out where you live and you take your rubber-soled shoes off, because every single shoe, even slippers, have rubber soles, like the Beatles say, which stops electrical fields. So if you take your shoes off and you touch the ground and you know God exists and where you live, maybe that is a way you can reconnect through all the nonsense and get out of this devil's little tiny mini me. I don't know. What do you guys think? You're smarter.
I grant every day. I make it a thing that I grant.
And I'll do this. You're smarter than me. What do you guys think?
Well, I tell you what, I that's a fascinating concept. The idea that they put a capsule over the top, but I totally get the need for earthing, and we love doing that. We haven't had the same kind of disciplines of doing it all the time, but I highly recommend it. Earthing, sun gazing, touching the trees, touching the electrical, all the things that are giving off natural electrical impulses from below. So I just want to, without going too deeply into what I think about...
Before you carry on, can I just say, and the beach, because there's something incredible
on the
about the shoreline.
Yeah, it's the waves, the waveform. Yeah, it comes in, it touches, and then it goes away, and the waves goodbye as it's going. It's just the wave function of this place.
It's like the heartbeat of the planet.
Yeah,
it's why people went to the seaside to convalesce, because they would get that good energy. Anyway,
you can feel the heartbeat of the sun and everything, you know, the pulse of it, and with the waves coming in, and you feel the whole waveform of this place when you do that. It's the best.
Yeah, because you're also getting the air and the smell and the water and everything. Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah, I
Thanks
think
for reminding us that.
Yeah, and I think
I love it,
the ether is richest, and it's more dense at the water level. But it's almost like the yin yang sign, that line between the yin yang sign is kind of like if you think of it like that, it's like the beach. It is the point at which the hard and the soft, the water and the magnetism, or the electrical and the magnetism kind of connect in our plane. I'm hearing like a little scratching sound from one of the microphones. I don't know if that's a ceiling fan you've got running there or something.
I'll turn mine off. Tell me if you hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's still there.
Yeah, I hear it, but it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you.
All right, you got 3 other choices.
Hopefully,
It's stopped.
okay.
Oh, Mark Melvin's in the chat.
Hey, Mark Melvin. I
Tommy
actually wanted
Rogers.
to ask Mark to join us. Actually,
Yeah.
if I didn't send you that email, I'm sorry, but
Yeah, Tommy
Mark's a
Rogers.
guy I like talking to. Tommy
Dave,
Rogers. Hey.
I just wanted to say one thing before I head back to work, guys. I appreciate everything all of you do, not just Dave and Andrea and Martin, Richard, but everyone in this community and all the support. We couldn't have done this for Dave without all the support of everyone around us. And, we don't mind putting in a little bit of work if you guys, have our backs and show us the support and the love. And when we're out here talking to people, remember, you were in their shoes, 3, 4, 5 years ago, believing the exact same thing. So love one another and treat them the way that you would want to be treated if somebody approached you with this information. So that's all I got to say. And thanks for having me on here, guys.
Thank you, Tommy. Before you go, I just want to say a big thank you to my wife because, to be honest, I wouldn't have made this journey without her. She has been quite hard in some ways. She's admitted herself to be I've had to drag her kicking and screaming along some parts of this journey. But I know that part of how I was able to make this connection with all of you and to make this work was because I had her by my side. And that we were a team, and that we were the Trinities. We had this little boy. It just, we are just regular people, a family. Trying to make the world a better place, one conversation at a time.
And Dr. Law's in the chat now.
Oh, hey, Dr. Law. Just a huge thank you for all your effort doing all that cooking, man. You are unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you very much. It means more than words can say, really. We were so humbled. It actually brought me to my knees. So yeah, just
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It means so much.
But thank you to everyone, actually, because it's that energy from everyone in the community, really, that we feel, and it keeps us wanting to carry on, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's that noise again.
And Tommy, before you leave, it's a pleasure meeting you, and I hope to meet you in real life soon. So.
All right, Richard.
Yeah, and I'd love to meet you guys, Tommy and Dr. Law. Sorry to interrupt you there, Tommy, but to meet you guys, Karen B and Brian Stavely and all the good people out there. I'd love to do that and say we could kind of come and hang out, but the world's a little bit of a different place right now, and we'll have to do it online for now, but hopefully someday, brother, we'll get to have a bear hug.
All right, but I'll catch you on the flat side.
All right, brother.
All right,
Lots of love.
Much
Cheers,
love.
brother. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Dr. Law, as well. Hey, man, you are a legend, and your kind of continued efforts in the, doing your activism and just being a presence in the community is huge. Obviously, you came to our attention back on the Globe Art Tour for sure.
And actually, he just said something that has to be the mantra for today. I want to be the change that I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have to shine our own light to be that change. Because we all do that, then you start to see the change.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to be the change that I want to see. Awesome.
Thank you. And thanks, Dr. Law. We spoke about, for anyone who's just late in this, we did speak quite extensively about the generous contribution and how that came about over at the Solar Return. that?
Annabelle says, I think the noise is a bunny chewing on a wire.
I'm actually answering you now as you speak.
I
He's
do
doing
believe it is
census.
coming from the center screen, though, because Martin hit something and I heard it. So I think it's something you hit that bounces, like a microphone or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think he's got a hamster in there somewhere.
Well, I won't have to write it now you said. Annabella, no, it's not. We checked, actually.
Yeah, Tommy Rogers.
No bunnies. Okay.
Mighty
Well,
Adam.
at least you're close.
Yeah, old Nick. Nice to see you. We spent a bit of time with old Nick and his family at Glastonbury, and that's how that lovely interview came about. And just by the way, guys, that interview that I had with that family in Glastonbury, one of the young lads, Archie, he subscribed to the channel, and I think he might have been watching some of, or may even be watching now if he is. Lovely to kind of have him join me. What a lovely conversation with a very interested family. So it was a bit of a joy there.
Sorry, someone said, Martin,
Artie.
it's a bunny chewing. Oh, RT said it's a bunny chewing a census letter.
No, that's gone. That's gone.
Yeah. So I want to get back to talk, answering that question you have, Rich, because I have some fascinating, what I believe to be fascinating insights about how all of this works. So I have this sense that the primary energy in our universe, well, one that we all recognize is the wave. We were talking about waves just now, but can you imagine this wave? If you had to turn and face the east, you're standing on the inside of your apple now, as you were describing earlier on, and you had to turn and face the east. In the morning, you would see this rising wave coming towards you, and the wave would continue to rise until it peaked at midday, and then it would descend past you. So imagine it was water, but this is like what we see as the sun. Okay. Now, how the sun works is another conversation altogether, but this is one of our primary, and everybody knows this form of energy, and it has a positive, negative, or a hot, cold, red, blue effect. You have the moon and you have the sun, so you have these dual waves coming towards you from the east. That's what we can tell. When we do the Schumann resonance and we look at what the Earth is, what's rising up out of the Earth, we find that there is indeed energy, negative ions they call it, but as energy rising up through the Earth. Now, I can't go into it in too much detail, partly because I've forgotten it and partly because I might bore the heck out of some of the folks listening. But I will in time do a proper lecture on this using peer-reviewed science to say that I think, Rich, that there is only two primary directions of energy travel. One is coming this way and one is going up. Mm-hmm. Now, because we're in a triple torus system, this apple is like a torus system, that when the energy rises, it actually does hit into this black hole splay and then kind of come down. And so it gives us another source of energy that is descending on us, but it's almost like a secondary energy that's coming, because the primary energy is a rising energy. All in quantum physics, that's what they talk about, is that we've got these I think the term I'm going to use is gluon, but it's not that. It's something else. You're
describing like a firework in my head, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, that's how it all is that everything is emanating upwards, which is why trees and everything grow upwards.
Right.
Everything is pushing up. All the energy is pushing up. But just like a pineapple, as you'll notice how the pineapple's spikes at the top actually kind of come around like this. Well, they're actually starting to that's the energy kind of coming around to create that traditional idea of what is a torus. Is that you've got energy firing up, and then it kind of spools around, and it can do this, and it can create this toroidal movement. But actually, the primary sources of energy are coming up, and then you've got the day-night energy. When God gave us light, then this was the secondary energy that comes in, and the reason why you've got solid hot at the bottom and liquid cold at the top is primarily because as this photon of light smashes into the underside of our universe, it slows right down to become almost solid, if you like. And then light always, then once it's been slowed, begins to speed up and return to light speed. And as it does that, then it loses solidity and eventually becomes into the blue light. And so it becomes, like the ether, it becomes the air. That's hopefully not too much information, at the same time not unclear. But ask me anything else on that.
Well, what I see, what you're saying is it kind of still ties into my thought, because so let's say the inertia or whatever, the initial energy, the strongest energy is coming up. Like I said, if you connect to the earth that you stand on, that's still part of God's creation. So you can get that energy up, because when it goes up, the energy that falls down, like the fallen angels, is only just kind of a mimic of what the actual energy was going up. And so rather than trying to reach out there, if we ground ourselves like you do in electricity, right? You always have to have the grounding wire to get your electrical charge. So once you figure out where you actually live, that's one of the biggest deceptions. They want to make you think you're a spinning ball flying through space at a ridiculous speeds. But once you realize that's all nonsense and you've reconnected to God's earth, doesn't matter what's going on above you and what they're spraying or what's going on. There's all kinds of theories what's happening, but the ground you stand on, that's God's earth. So when you can reconnect to that original energy, that's how I think we all get more empowered. And the more you disconnect from that, it's like unplugging a lamp. It's going to turn off its power. And so if you live a complete life that you're in the machine, and you're in an apartment, maybe in a big city, and you haven't seen a plant in God knows when, well, you're getting really disconnected. You don't know where your food comes from. You won't be able to sustain yourself if all the main systems get shut down. And that's all God's saying is like, figure this out and reconnect to nature.
Okay, so let me add to that. And so we all know that the main heart chakra is green. We know that that the earth is obviously green, and the heart is an anagram. The word heart is an anagram for earth. And as you were saying, with the electrical system, you have a negative and positive, a blue and a red. So coming back to the lower part of our earth is red, which is in the lower chakras, and the higher part is the blue, which is in our lungs. But in the heart, in the middle, you've got this neutrality. And well, that's what neutral is. It is green and brown. And we're meant to find neutrality in this place. And when I think about it in those terms, Rich, I think like the negative, or the material, the heavy, the dark, the red, the stuff that's in the lower chakras. And if you saw my work on the Baphomet being in your coccyx, and why I use the elephant on this thumbnail, by the way, because the elephant is actually your sacrum, and this is part of what is damaged when you're born with the stab in the foot, right? So the elephant has a fantastic memory. That's what the elephant is known for, right? So your sacrum, I think, has a fantastic memory, and it remembers all of these traumas, and the system is designed to try and keep you in that lower red state. On the flip side of that, it says, you've worked out or you've walked away from that lower red state. We're going to offer you a higher blue state. So this is where people get super spiritual, super like into religion and all that sort of thing, perhaps. And so instead of again being in a neutral state, they're now in a super blue state. And I think this is what they do in politics, and this is what they do in a whole raft of other things, is they move you from blue to red. They categorize certain peoples as blue and red. And they always keep you out of balance, because that's what politics is choose a side, left or right. There's no center, or there is, but that's just some fake heart. It's not the real deal. So we are meant to be connecting to the earth. Absolutely. We're meant to be earthing the green. We're meant to be living around green, with green, smoking green, if that's your thing. And finding balance, neutrality, Zen, perhaps, is a word I used earlier today. I think it's that, because everything that's out there, everything that's raged against us, is trying to pull you into the sky or pull you down into the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I had to up my game because he's got a Zippo, so
Maybe I need to
I
maybe
got to
roll
do
myself.
something to wisen up my face with these other two brilliant men. So
No, we're all brilliant men, and the thing is that we all have different talents. You know, something that I saw in Martin was his talent for his kind of research, and I've never once thought I want to try and emulate, you know, what he does, because you know he's good at what he does, and I'll work on the things that I'm good at, you know, and then together, you know, we'll be better. I'm not going to try and chase his thing, and you know, and even if we were in the same kind of space, it would be hopefully more like you know, a cooperation and a collaboration. You know, something that I realized in my journey away from the material world, not that I'm away from it, but you know, away from that kind of material mindset,
right.
is that this need to be the top dog or whatever is kind of almost like a manufactured thing, you know. And quite early on in my journey on this thing, it was like, I'm just gonna do my bit. I'm gonna lay it out and just let the journey unfold in its own way. So, you know, that's why I don't have any other like social media presence. I tried Facebook, you know, until a few years ago, but I don't have any media. You know, I don't try and push myself, you know, into, you know, chat rooms and you know, too much. You know, it's not like I'm trying to I'm just like letting it unfold naturally, and what will be will be.
Well, just how the fact I even met you, I was looking into a picture in a book that was given to me that had a different flat Earth map, and it had Africa as the center north. And that's when you reached out to me about the whole. I was looking at Kilimanjaro, and you were looking at Mount Meru, which I still find that whole area. I know there's nonsense going on there, because if you look up the mountains of the moon, and it was a mountain range that went all the way from the River Nile all the way through, you know, the middle of Africa. And yet, when you try to look into it, they say it was a potential. Like, no one knows. It's a folk tale. Like, how do you not know if there's a mountain range there or not, and multiple mountains? How is that like a potential we don't know? Like, look it up today. They still don't know. It's a mystery. How do you miss a mountain?
It's on my map on the wall still. It's on my map on the wall still. It's on my map on the wall still.
Oh, you still have the mountains of the moon?
Yeah, it's still on some maps, but there are, like, you can go. There's Kong Mountain Range in northern Guyana in the modern day, but like I think that's just taking off what would have been a bigger mountain range, the one through the Sahara. But yeah, I looked into that. There's
so much mystery going on there, and Dave and I did a whole thing about most likely Mount Kill a Man, Jaro, whatever, coincidence. That's most likely could be where Satan's throne is, because as you were just discussing your energy fields, that lines up to the Bible when God sees Satan, he's like, where you been? And he's like, I've been walking back and forth and up and down or whatever. Well, those are the same fields you just talked about. And he can't be everywhere at once. He can only mimic him, so he's got to walk around. So what does he do? He enlists all these things. He's got all these devices that watch us and listen to us, and that's how he can do the same thing as God, at least his miserable way he can. That's the way I see it. Oh, I gotta use the pipe. That's the way I see it.
I love your take on that. So are you of the view that the let's call it, okay, so we know we have this power elite, if you like, or you have a ruling classes, or you have a ruling system.
Right.
Do you think that the ruling system takes its orders from a non-human type?
Very possibly.
Oh, 100%. I mean, what do they say in that one Star Wars movie? There's always a bigger fish. The people we're seeing, you know, the Faucis and the Gates and every leader, all these different countries, and the people that are screwing up our states in the U.S., like our governor and stuff, they're just puppets. You can interchange different faces. It doesn't matter. I don't believe any of them are elected. I think they're all selected. I think a poll just sees how people are feeling. It's taking a poll. You don't do anything. You can vote. But what's fascinating is when I talk to people, because I'm in mostly what they call a blue state, but everyone I talk to doesn't like any of the policies going on and didn't vote for the person in office. So I think at some level, it doesn't matter. Like, you can collect a bunch of votes, but eventually it goes somewhere, and then we all sit back and we have the televised vision tell us who won. So I think at a small level, you can do things, but once you get, say, governor up, and I've learned this basically from Brian Stavely, but if you go governor up, it's all been selected, and you go above them, and the leaders of the countries are all selected, and then it's provable because everyone in the world gave into this whole nonsense of this invisible thing that you got to do these things and that and shoot yourself up with stuff. At the same time, even the countries don't like each other. And out here we have the Native Americans. They don't have to listen to anything government says, and they cave too. So it's above and beyond all those people. And I think eventually you get high enough, you go Rothschild, whatever, you go higher. It goes to a spiritual level. It has to, because if there is a creator, there has to be the other side of it that's fighting us to strengthen us and get us, figure this out and get out of here. Because I'm tired of being in here. No offense, you guys. I love you all, but I'm tired of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I swing, I have to say, between, thinking that this is just, men who have survived previous floods and previous, events. They've survived that and kept their secrets and have managed to spread their secrets. Because if they've been able to spread their secrets across a plane before too long. Now, however, I also subscribe to the possibility that entities in a frequency or a vibration that is different to ours, so that we can't necessarily see them if they were in the room, perhaps, unless we had the goggles. Maybe they're involved here, and this is how it's so powerful that.
Well, even with your theory, if it's just men that have figured out how to continue that, no, someone taught them, is what I'm saying, and entities and things within this world that we can't see are provable. Orbs. I've shot some by accident when I was filming things. A lot of people have. There are things that I've seen. Experiences that I've had, I believe both of you have had, that you cannot explain away in the natural world that we were taught. So knowing that there is a spiritual, quote, supernatural element to this, it only makes sense that they're the ones that would have taught those men the things that they could control us with. That's my thoughts.
I like your thoughts. How about you, Emma?
Well, I covered all what you're just talking about in the last one, coincidentally.
A plug for the book.
No, I definitely think these entities just, I think that they're close by, like really close by. And I think that they can possibly see us and we can't see them. But when you shift your vibration, sometimes when you're maybe falling asleep or half asleep or in some sort of theta state, when you can perceive this spiritual realm, if you want to call it that, this other dimension, then you can perceive things from it. These entities in it, everything from shadow men to gremlins, you name it, it's all in there. The fairy kingdom, the whole thing, there's these multi dimensions that are really close by. But I think this one where they emanate from, the controllers, Phoenicians, if you like, is very, very close by. Actually, I think it's locked in the water that we breathe and the way, because we're in liquid vision here. I know people don't think we're in water, but we are. We are.
Well, even if we're encapsulated in their version, they're encapsulated in God's version, so they can't get very far.
I did this thing with the word water, where if you roll the W to make it an E, and you flip the two first letters around, you make the word ether. Just a coincidence, but
no.
I have this theory, right? Okay, so I have theorized for some time that at the electromagnetic level, we could have a superhighway running through our house at a different frequency and not have it affect us in any way or know that it's there. Go on.
If we're thinking like you're going into quantum mechanics, if you think of this as like, if you want to think simulation or what have you, the fact still remains that there is actually no exterior world out there. There's nothing out there. Everything you're perceiving is in here, all is mind. We're being minded by God. We're basically minded in our temple, our holy temple.
Yeah. And then when I took the DMT, that was what I saw, is that everything is simply a frequency. So when we interpret a rock, a piece of metal, whatever. We're actually only interpreting a frequency.
So I've seen these rocks
vibration.
in a psychedelic state, and I've had the air turn into a fluid, and then and actually turn into a solid where I could no longer go through it. But I definitely seen, I literally was convinced that I see molecular buildup of a plant, basically a plant grow, visually. It's just, you can see these intricacies in life, and good on that road.
Yeah. And so the thing about the frequency is that everything, all this energy is rising, and we're interpreting it right at the level that we're at. But we recognize that at the level we're in, the world we're in, we can dig down a little bit, right? We know we can dig down 8 miles, and we know we can go up, in space. As a
mile, I think 12 kilometers, 12 up, 12 down, and that's it.
That's that. Well,
from there we can guess the core of the Earth. I love it. It's just great. It's like taking an orange and taking the tiniest piece with like a scalpel and say, "Okay, I know what's inside here." You have no idea. It's ridiculous.
Well, we don't know if the coal mine did go that deep. It's another thing on YouTube, another thing just given to us. We don't know if the narrative's true, but I have proposed that I thought the inertia plane that we stand on, you were talking about, is 12 kilometers below our feet, and that's why they couldn't get down any further, because we can't actually be standing directly upon it, because it would be disorientating. It wouldn't be able to be. We got to be above the inertia plane, where it's inert, the inert people, the inert space, where we are. That's why a mountain is still, it's electromagnetic lineup. The magnets are not all chaotic. If this was the case, everything would fly apart. Down to the molecular, down to the atomic, if you like, because that's the same, two opposing magnets, north and south, just like the torus system, David.
So, Mart, if we had giant people in previous epochs, do you think that those giant people were living in a water or an atmosphere that was more or less dense than the atmosphere we're in now?
Dense. More dense, 100%. The clues are right the way through antiquity. I definitely think that's the case. And I think the pressure, something to do with the dome, and increased pressure in this place, the density increases.
Okay, because something that came to me when I was doing the quantum stuff was that, we perceive certain things as a degree of density in our world. A fish would find sea or water, would find it far less dense. To us, it would say, what sea are you talking about? I'm just moving around in my environment. And so that rule can apply upwards and downwards. So as you move upwards into thinner and thinner gases, then there will be entities there that are perhaps doing things that we couldn't conceive of, and they're obviously made of slightly different bodies, as fish are from us. But what was compelling for me was the concept that actually the density of the water that we have in our world, and the density of the atmosphere, but particularly the water, might be different if there was a layer below. I'm just reaching a conclusion here by saying that there could be a layer below in which the water that we perceive as very hard water, or that some people have found apparently at lower depths, that there's very hard water. Well, what if that water was actually the upper roof
100%.
of the universe below?
Yeah, definitely. Like deuterium, but just that heavy water that's non-penetrable. And we've also proposed that it's held in place by a frequency.
For those of us that watch my channel, could you cover that a little bit one more time, and maybe like a little less smart? Tell me about the water. How's the water? Say that again.
Have you ever seen that video with that guy, and he's underwater in the submarine, and he sees this like lake under the ocean, and he tries to penetrate it, and he just hits this denser water. So we're thinking like there's a water dome. I definitely think there's water above us, and I definitely think there's water below us as well.
Right, I'm on board.
Yeah.
And,
so we don't know anything about water. We know it holds memory. We know it could be structured. We know this stuff is a miracle. We're breathing it. We're made of it. Everything in our realm is water. That's most of the plane we live in is water. Even in their frame of reference, 72%.
Right. I mean, name some other thing that you can change it. Like you can take water, freeze it, then reheat it and turn it into steam. You can change it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I've got a theory that maybe the dark matter that we see in the universe is hydrogen at -2 Kelvin. And so it's like a liquid, it's like a sea, because that's what some of these scientists will say, is like when we look out there, it's like we're looking into a sea, you know? And so that's because the primary, the first element is hydrogen. And so I think that the Big Bang creates a universe of hydrogen. And then beyond that other things start coming. But my hypothesis is that so this heavy water, Martin, that we've all seen the submarine bounce off that heavy water. And there are some interesting things on heavy water. In fact, Deborah sent me something interesting today on Rondeau. Thank you for that. But
she's actually here.
Yeah. So there is my hypothesis goes like this: that so imagine at the upper atmosphere you've got these super thin gases that to us seem super thin, but imagine being a creature that saw that super thin stuff as actually an ocean that they could swim around in.
Yeah, sure,
and
like the rocks that are up there. Look, Dave, you look up there, there's stuff flying around. I can guarantee you, on the night vision goggles, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Right. So
I tell you what it's not, satellites and stuff. I tell you what it is, critters.
And if you put binoculars, even you don't even need a telescope or something with the naked eye, the stars, they look just like you would see water reflecting in a pool. So I definitely believe there's water outside there.
Loads of star shots I got, and they all look like they're going through a water medium. All of them, everyone I take them.
Yeah. And sometimes, if you're in a very clear sky, you can watch those stars that just drift across the sky, And I sometimes imagine that that's like a little powerboat up there. Someone's cruising in their little powerboat across the sky around me, But
and taking it again biblically, where he encloses us, separates the waters above and below, and then originally all water came up from the ground. It never rained. Like when Noah built his ark, not only did they think he was crazy, he was talking about
definitely. Listen to Talking Heads. They tell you in that song, Once in a Lifetime. It's a reset song from beginning to end, but it says water down below, coming up when the money runs out. It's a whole, the whole narrative is the reset. We come back out and we found ourselves somewhere brand new. Have a listen to it. Have a listen to that later. Yeah, once in a lifetime. Okay.
Once in a lifetime.
It tells you everything in that song you just said.
You talk about the Talking Heads?
Yeah, man.
No way. All right.
Oh man, I like that. I like that song. I like Talking Heads.
No, it's a legend song, and there's so many reset songs. It's absolutely unbelievable.
But see, that's what I'm saying. So that energy's always come up.
Energy rises. Energy rises. As I said, you've got this inward coming sun energy, but energy primarily is rising. The majority of energy in the universe is rising up. You hear these scientists say that if you put your hand out for just a second, 5 seconds or whatever, you will have had a trillion like bits of
stuff. Yeah, I know.
There's so much rising all the time. It's basically, if you like, I think it's almost what's inflating our universe. It's almost like those bouncy castles that you get for your children, right? They look really great, but the whole time you have to have this noisy fan running, because if you stop the fan very quickly, the thing will just collapse. Well, I think that this is what goes on in the world. So coming back to the chemtrail thing is that if you know that, then you can maybe put a witch's hat on top of that energy and try and catch it in, and with that do damage, because we're getting blowback that we shouldn't be getting inside of the system.
Could be one thing. Could be what they're doing.
But I'll tell you. So I'll go back to the heavy water, right? So my theory is that what we describe as heavy water might be thin gas for the heavy realm beneath us, which is perhaps where the control comes from. Actually, because and I'm more than happy with the idea that everything is right here in this space, good, bad. Otherwise, all of it could be in this very space. Someone wants to say hello.
Look who's on board now. So I get it.
Oh, hello, Alexandra. Hello,
Alexander. It's easy.
I love your hair. I'm so jealous.
I can see it on Zizi in the camera, seeing it there.
Yeah. Flat thumbs. Give them knucks. Give them knucks. Put it to the camera. Give them knucks like that. He's my flat earth baby. Hey, he was a conscious decision at the age of 49. I said, what, we're cleaning ourselves up, and if we fall pregnant, it's because I'm meant to have another boy. I mean, a child. I felt like it was going to be a boy, but didn't want to say that until he arrived. So yeah, he's very much a conscious decision to do something different in the world, you know. But yeah, so going back to that is my theory is, obviously I have a number of theories that sit side by side, but this theory is that you've got the heavy water we see below us is actually a gas rising from a heavy world below, and that's why I was interested, Martin, in what we were saying about how the environment would have been for the people that were so big that could build the things they built. Because I think that it's possible that the world shifts up or down. You know, like sometimes you got those pole rides that you go up or down.
It does, David, in all of their ancient culture. They tell us that this place rises and this place falls. No doubt. And I think this as well. So we get inundated. So we get flooded. Yeah. I don't think we get shaken, and I think we even get tipped. As much as it sounds crazy, but some of these monuments look like they've been tipped over. You know, they're just phenomenally big. You know, like Baalbek. You know, the water to have caused this unbelievable damage you see at these sites. I think there was more going on, and terrible earthquakes as well, and and earthquakes.
When's the next one? When's the next one, Martin? You guys should know.
They don't need to. They just don't need to. I think the system's broke. I don't think they can reset again now. I think since they've been discovered, I think this is what this pandemic is all been about. Trying to get control again before everyone, like they're panicking now. They're like, oh shit, everyone's going to wake up. And they just made it worse for themselves as well by, doing this, because, nobody's going to trust their governments all the more now because we lied to, transparently lied to, you know. And so I think this has been great for the awakening. I think they've lost control completely. I think the people are in control. I know the leaders think that they're leading, but they're not really. They're not really. The people, if they wanted to, could just take it back like that overnight. Overnight, we could take it all back. If they just had the courage, David, to just get off their asses and take it back. No one would be hurt. Yeah. It's just the whole restructure of society, and the vibration would be so high that we'd all perceive a new reality anyway. It'd be like the Celestine prophecy times 10. That's the way I see it, David. But it could.
That's how I realized you can't. They would never, like we used to think. Oh, they're going to unplug YouTube and all that. No, they'll never do that. That's what happened in that movie They Live. As soon as they turned off the TV, everyone woke up and they could all see the monsters, and that's why they'd never take this down, because that's the only place all this nonsense and fear lives. And if you were to shut off all the televised visions, that's why they're not doing a massive power outage or anything yet, because they need these people still watching this, otherwise they don't believe the nonsense.
Exactly right. They got to keep the brainwash fresh.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, until whatever it is, I don't know if there's a day when they shut it down and then they bring on whatever. Who knows? That's why you armor up in the spirit of God. But the thing is, it's like they're going to keep pushing it. And if you walk outside where they're trying to keep you from going, you don't see bodies in the streets. And why isn't everyone like picking up their phone going, lost another 10 contacts today? Damn, this stuff is horrible. No. And if you look at the death rates, you can do this on multiple websites. They haven't changed in 4 years. So where are all these extra deaths? No, they're nowhere. Sorry.
The flu and the common cold.
Yeah, the flu's gone. Woohoo!
Yeah. I got a video taken down the other day, but I think I was talking on these topics, but I think it was because I used the supermarket's name, and they're very quick on that's negative, But if people haven't heard me do this, I went onto the Office of National Statistics database and got their 100 years of data, and a higher percentage of people died in this country, in the UK, in 1985 than 2020. But here, if you break the UK down to a village of 1,000 people, you would have had one more death than the average over the last 5 years. So it's really not a good reason to shut anything down in that case.
We know that.
And you know what's up in the United States? Deaths from alcohol, substance abuse, spousal abuse, child abuse, suicide, all that, right? But let's lock down everything, because like 0.01% are dying in a nursing home, most likely because something. I can't even say it. I don't want to mess up. You're doing the right thing, and we're saying the right things, because if you look at this, never in my life have I seen with 112 people, 75 thumbs down. So you're over the target. That's fantastic.
Wow, Dave. What's that all about?
That's a bit of a high point for me, actually. And this channel,
I've never seen this.
wow, wow. Well, I've obviously attracted some new friends, I guess. But you know,
Only one person with loads of 75 soccer accounts could do that.
yeah,
What's that?
yeah.
Could be one person could do that. 75 soccer accounts.
Oh, I
Well,
know.
I know
I
someone
just think
with a
it's
lot of
hilarious that they're that upset with us. And the funniest thing is, even if you have someone that doesn't like what you're saying, they have to listen, right? So maybe they'll learn something. Because I don't listen to what they have to say. The lion doesn't care about those things. They're listening to us all the time. It's kind of funny.
No, they were saying there was 25 yesterday downs before it even started. They were saying.
Yeah, they had a bunch of hate today over your picture of an elephant. I figure a lot of people don't like elephants. I mean, how do you hate our show? Before it starts.
Soccer counts, I think. Trolls.
But guys, I mean, the elephant in the room is like belief. I think you know, I keep, and I won't harp on about this, but I feel like there is so much attachment to belief. There's nothing wrong with having, you know, I'm not saying we shouldn't have any belief in anything, because, you know, there is an element of needing to believe in certain things, I think, perhaps, but it's like a belief that says that, you know, you must say this or do this or whatever. It's a little bit like with what they're doing in 2020. It just feels like that belief systems have been used to trap us, and we have to test ourselves to be sure, test all things and be sure that we aren't like caught up in belief. It's a tricky subject, you know, and people I care about very much. You know, like one of the first Muslim flat earthers I met was a lovely guy called Wazim, and you know, I know that he's not going to leave his, and I don't know that people necessarily have to leave it, but I just feel like division it comes from religion and belief and stuff like this, and if it wasn't powerful, it wouldn't have been used against us. So, what do you guys feel about belief?
Well, I think self-belief is important, but I think the rest is just no.
Yeah.
Just look at the definition of Google, the definition of the meaning of the word belief, and then you realise that it's just you know, believing in nothing. It's just a belief system. It's not a real thing. But like believing in yourself, I think that's something else. I think that's a completely different idea.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I suppose we can kind of know ourselves, you know, and you know, there's things like
friends. You know, I've said that. You know, I believe in you. You know, I believe in a friend. You know, when they're coming on strong or something. You know, I believe in you. I've said that to people.
Yeah.
And see, and where I make the separation, I guess, in my head is because see, I came from not having any religious background. In fact, I've actually picked up a Bible and started reading a few years back, and I never even looked at one before. So my spiritual journey started without a religion, without a book, and I made my connection. And the difference I see is I believe in myself. I believe in you guys or my friends or my wife, and I have faith in my Creator. And that's how I separated, I guess, because now that I've known this connection, it doesn't matter what a book tells me or a YouTube video tells me. You can try to convince me to the end of days, which we're in, but you can try to convince me whatever you want, but you can't change my experiences and my connection because it didn't come from a book and it didn't come from a religion. So that's the way I see it. It's a faith.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, I like that, and I like that about your search into the Bible. You know, I admire, you know, the way that you're handling that. You know, there's been a few people who've been willing to stand up and say, look, this stuff is good, but you know, there's some key elements of this that require belief that is divisive. You know.
Well, when I look at it, see, I read it as you ever watch that movie, Beetlejuice, and the guy, and they give him the Book of the Dead and say, "Here you go." Well, I kind of feel that's the same way. So I don't like say, "Oh my God, I got to have this, or I won't be able to do nothing." No, I can talk to God all the time. You know, it's usually a one-way conversation. He's a good listener. He doesn't talk very much, but I found out he talks, but he talks really quiet. And everything in the world that's so like you got a squirrel, you know, and you're always this, that, and the other. You got to do a job. You got to do this, that. So you don't hear him. And if you take a moment, you go outside and you just get rid of all the electronics. You take your shoes off and you just sit and you listen. he's talking to you, and you've had signs and stuff, and look back in your life. Every time that you thought something was lucky, wow, that was such a lucky thing, or what a coincidence. And throw that word out and add the word blessing in place of it, and see how many times you say it. And then you realize he's there. And once you do that, well, then all the rest of it just kind of, it goes away. Can you get affected in this world? Absolutely. I'm dealing with stuff everyone is. But you can get out of it because you can have that faith to know that there's something more. There's a spiritualness. It's not all about monetary things or even what's written in a book. This is just a guideline. I've been reading this because I'm finding things that have happened. You can line up things that are going on now, and then I'll look at, well, maybe this is what's happening in the future. Because even if you don't believe in it, a lot of the people that are trying to do the opposite, they're reading it. It's like that Sins of War. What's that thing? Know thy enemy. You might as well read it, at least figure out what they're reading, because those people believe in it. They're doing ceremonies and stuff. So that's how I look at it. It's a guide. It's not my spirituality. It doesn't exist in there, but I use it because there's a lot of good information.
I use that to code it. I coded in my last blog. I take passages for clues of what they're telling us. I think there's clues right the way through that, definitely.
But you're absolutely right. It's another way to divide people. They want us all fighting all the time. So now you get some people that get together and they agree on something, but now we're going to argue over this book or that book, or what do you call him? Don't use this name, use that name. It's ridiculous. You just got to get past all that. But it's tough because that's how we were born and raised, Yeah,
but I know, and I just, I have to. I mean, I love the idea that there is an ending to this and an opportunity for humanity to rise again. I feel like if you switched off the key, then most of us have not been reading these books or understanding these truths, and so therefore we are so far from being the lights that we're meant to be. So if you open the prison gates, as so to say, then it's a little bit likely that a lot of the prisoners are going to rampage and go crazy. So my view is that we do need to step away from these beliefs, but realize that the majority, Matthew 24:24, are going to be continue to be deceived, and that's a bitter pill for me to swallow, because I want for everyone to come through this, guys. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and like I said, I read this because, and a lot of times I just put it on an app. I can listen and do other things because it's weird. It seems to match up to things going on in my life, and when I start looking into it, it usually helps my path to correct itself. So it's like, okay, you can say what you want about a book written by men, but the people telling me that we're all reading books written by men, so it's an endless loop. So, but name another book. You can't pick up a Harry Potter book off the shelf and go, wow, that really connects with my life right now, what I'm going through. But this book you can, and they take it out of everywhere, and they fight over it, and they die over it, and so there's something there. So at least look at it. What could it hurt?
Yeah. Well, I had an interesting experience about a week ago. I was having just going through a bit of confronting my own darkness and trauma, and really having a tough moment. And I had this. You say he talks very quietly. I had this thought pop into my head: Psalm 23. And we all know Psalm 23, but I wasn't thinking about the Bible. I wasn't thinking about, and the particular part was about, even though we walk through the valley of death, I shall feel no evil. And it came to me like really powerfully. I went and read it, and it brought so much peace to me. Wow. Because it reminded me that actually, we're not walking this alone. So yeah, I think these things are here for us to use for good or for evil, and that's certainly been our case. Like numbers, for instance, numbers will pop up, and they are signs. They are signs that you are not alone walking this. So there's been so many things. People. just so many examples of those things that are there to help us. And what we remember is that, we are all connected. There is that atonement, that at one mind, where we are all essentially brothers and sisters and connected so deeply or so magnetically that we are there to guide and support. And actually, I was through a mall, was guided to the Course in Miracles, which I had always kind of pushed away because
written by a woman.
Because it had sort of new age connotations and had been touched by certain celebrities, and it was like, oh no, I don't really want to go there. And it really has been over the last 2 months a real beacon for me, a real support. And actually, all the stuff you guys have spoken about tonight, in terms of, we create our own reality. Well, this is exactly what this course talks about. How our ego, which I think is actually this big thing that's out here or in here, and we're projecting out, will tell us all sorts of lies. It will use guilt, and it will. That's what tells us those things that aren't true in our head. Is our ego. Our ego is a good thing to have, but essentially it can get out of control. It can become too loud and start to tell you things that aren't true, and
mislead you.
Or mislead you, yeah. And so it's been an amazing thing. And one of the most important things that's come out of it for me is that when we find our own salvation or our own light within, then we can start to affect others. So that's why what Dr. Lara said, be the change that you want to see. It's be the light that you want to see, because we then start ripple affecting it out. Books, there's certain books, and certainly the Bible, there's much in it. It's just how it's interpreted.
I found that. Thanks for sharing that story, because I've always said, if you're having feelings of whatever, dread, fear, Psalms, just go through the Psalms. It was I think it was King David, and he was just either praising or crying out to God, and I don't know, I found so much peace in those. In fact, I think what you switch it around, I think it was like the thing now that's out there, the fake, imaginary killer, ends with 1:9, and then you flip it around and read Psalm 91, and it talks about how to get through like deadly pestilences. I don't know, just find those things fascinating, numbers and stuff. But yes, the Psalms are just such a wonderful place, and the fact that you exactly was what I was describing. You heard him. And that's the thing. There's signs and stuff happening in front of everyone all the time. And most people don't even look up. There are rare nights now that there's a clear sky. And when there are, like, the stars and stuff just dance. And to me, they all seem much closer. If it's a toroidal field, I think we've shifted to where they are all closer. I mean, I believe I have a whole theory going with someone that the moon is only 33, because they like that number, miles away. Because I can see what is it, Techno Crater, which is 53 miles long on the moon. It's a naked eye object by NASA. Look it up. And I can see that with my naked eye, and it's about 240,000 miles away. That makes no sense to me. And yet from the moon, they said they couldn't see the Great Wall of China, which is 13,000 miles long. It's all nonsense, obviously.
Well, they can't even zoom in from the ISS at 250 miles on anything recognizable down on Earth,
Yeah.
And certainly nothing in real time.
So I definitely think that's all. It's all right there. Everything, like you're saying, that I like your theory, but I get it now. The water being the veil before the, whatever it is they're at, and it's all enclosed together. Because again, we're in God's dome, firmament, whatever ball, and then whatever they're doing to us is within that. But if we still connect ourselves to the ground where the water comes out and the energy comes out, I really think that's the way we can stay grounded, just like all our electronic equipment say.
But I think the clue is kind of like in your own body, really, because your body has three primary parts. In the lower part, we're talking about where the Baphomet is in the coccyx, and then in the lungs and in the heart, we're talking in the center, which is perhaps where we are, and then in the head you got the heavens, the temple of God, as if you like. So on the meta scale, then you've got these three segments to it, and because the dominant six, the lower energies from the cock six, are in command, if you like. They're not over God, of course, but in terms of what's going on here in the plane above them. I think that this is how there's some kind of control coming from the lower, but it's exemplified in the human by tweaking his ego, tweaking his goat, messing with his root chakra, his solidity, his connection to the earth, and so you put him in a state of distress, just like they're doing with the earth, with all the spraying and all the other things. Put in a state of distress in order to control it, in order to have some dominion over it, despite being creatures or beings at a frequency that wouldn't be able to survive here, wouldn't be able to commute here or do business here or anything like that.
You know, you just made me think about that. So your three chakras, the lower one, you know, where the junk is or whatever, where Baphomet exists, and that's where all the free porn and trying to get all the people just watching that and mindless. And then the second one where the lungs are, where God breathed in the breath of life.
Ether,
and now you're saying, I don't want it anymore. And you're like saying, I don't need your breath of life. So now you've shut this off. You turn that back into more. I can see how this is happening.
And with the aegis of varying competing religions and different beliefs, you've messed with the temple as well, by the way. But ether actually, or breathe, is an anagram for ether with a spare B. So I think that we breathe the breath of life here. Where was I going to go? Oh, and I wanted to just say, Rich, on the issue of the lower, there's actually nothing essentially wrong with the lower. Remember what
I'm sorry, I wasn't saying that. I'm saying the world, the fake world that exists, they want you to fixate on only that. No other chakra. Forget this one. Forget this one. Only focus on that one. I'm not saying it's evil. I'm saying they're making it. It's like anything else. You eat too much of something, you get fat or something.
Because we need legs to carry us somewhere. But those legs could either go and do a good deed, or they could commit a criminal act. So the legs are vital, but they're sort of like a rifle. It's inert. It's what you do with it that makes the difference. And so the same is true with our lower chakras. It's that really they're essential parts of what we are. Our sexuality and our stability and our core, all these things are important, and as is the need for an ego or in a sense an ability to discern when your life is in danger, there's a hazard or whatever. You need those things, but it's how they're turned from cooperation into competition and scarcity and all these sorts of things that get your fellow brother and sister to do a job that causes other people harm. So
there's another interesting thing, and it's my hot topic. There's another interesting thing in your body called the vagus nerve, which is this nerve that runs into the back of your neck. It runs between your cranium. Sorry, I must find the camera. Your cranium and your sacrum, and it runs into all the nerves of all your organs in your body, and it's literally the most important thing between your gut and your head, your cranium, your eyes, your ears, and your throat. And the vagus nerve looks like a tuning fork. In fact, they call it the vagus tone. So your tone of your vagus nerve needs to be right, and when your tone's wrong, you go into fight or flight. So you go into fear. But if you've got the right tone, it goes into rest and digest, and your gut is able to communicate with your brain, and your brain is or your senses, and vice versa. Really important. So if your tone's out, then you will be in fight or flight. You'll be in anxiety. All those things that people are currently feeling right now because their tone is completely out. The things that bring them back to normal is breathing. So breathing through your nose breathing, not mouth breathing. In fact, when you mouth breathe, normally you're in an anxious state. breathing is the thing that brings your any form of meditation, which is or prayer, which is when we know we go into that state of being connected back to source, and humming or chanting Om, which we know is one of the basic sounds of the universe. There's other things too, obviously, but those are three things that definitely help with the vagus nerve.
Which makes me think about what you were saying earlier on, Rich, about the energy system being affected, put a lid on, or whatever. Because I think that's what they've done to our bodies, is they've tried to disconnect the bottom, the middle, and the top, because it's a trinity. It's the three that have to work in harmony. That's, if you look at the carbon atom, these three things need to be in perfect balance for it to remain a stable thing. So I think that's very interesting, because we are electromagnetic, and we've had our electromagnetic tuning forks altered by chemical and other means, vibrations in the air,
electromagnetics.
And and think about the Las Vegas example. What does Las Vegas stand for? It's all about messing up with your Vegas. It's messing, your life. So, we there's a lot of stuff going on at the microscopic, or at the the small level, the human level, and then at the kind of macroscopic, universal level. I think that there is a play going on for all levels of creation, from the smaller and the smaller than us to the all. So I'd like to think that God has this, God got this, and there is going to be a reckoning, and then things will be put right.
And again, when you go scripturally on it, the only time that people actually realize there's a creator is when their life's just upside down in turmoil and they cry out. And then he rescues them, and then they forget him, and it happens again, and repeat and repeat and repeat. So my theory is we're still enslaved. We've never not been enslaved, because, at least in my lifetime, if you look on the back of the fiat currency that we exist with, it's the damn pyramid. And we all know that. And you go all over the world, and there's still Egyptian stuff everywhere. So what if we're all still enslaved and we don't know it? And the only way out is to figure out God exists. And he's like, okay, well, I've got to shake this thing up, because there's a whole bunch of your brothers and sisters that maybe still are supposed to figure this out, but they're so entrapped with the nonsense of what's going on through these black mirrors. I can't wake them up. It's like they're in too deep of a sleep. And so I don't want it to get worse, but I don't see how it's not crashing down. We all think it. I don't know. So if it crashes and gets worse, then that's how you all get out of it. And how do you get out of it? You build your own communities, and you grow your own food, and you create God's earth.
Yes.
And that's how you get out of it.
God is good. So. And that's what we got to be, I guess. It's incredible, isn't it? And I think we just have to continue this path and find our way to that establishment. And there's going to be people inside of the prison camps, and those that are maybe a little bit further outside, and those that are even further, like Tommy, who can't see his neighbor. That sounds pretty good to me at the moment. Much as I would love to have friends, I don't necessarily need to be in other people's page. But yes, to create something from small. And even though we feel like we're so few, it's like it does feel like this is the calling, is to take this path and to establish something, because it'll, in the future, or in the not too distant future, it will bring light in dark places.
Yeah, well, and then like even I'm seeing, it's not even a salvation that's coming, if you don't want to fall that way. What I'm saying, what this book teaches, or whatever spirituality is, love yourself, know God exists and love him, and love thy neighbor as thyself. You put those in motion, and it's all the same thing. Even if you believe in, a system of getting out, or it's just within you, it's the same thing. It's the Spirit of God coming out and everyone connecting and creating the world. Create the reality you want to create. However you want to get there, we're all on the same page. We got to watch out that we don't keep fighting each other over the way that we're getting there. If we all go to the same location,
Yeah.
You know, everyone get there on their own path. My path's different than yours or anyone's, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Well, that's it, and I think, I mean, this is where I think what we've been primed for is to kind of argue with people over beliefs, you know. And I hate arguing. Actually, I really don't like it. And if I get kind of crappy comments in the comment section, it's not like oh, that's made my day, you know. It's not like that at all, you know. So it matters to me to kind of be, you know, putting out good vibrations and not bad vibrations. And what I did from 2016 onwards was to put out bad vibrations with my family and friends, you know, trying to batter them out of their belief system. And I don't know that I need to do it like that. It became more imperative, I suppose, to try and, you know, just live the best example, and then from that, hopefully show or demonstrate to others that this is perhaps the way to be. So did you guys, have you noticed my backdrop here? This is a blue screen.
Yeah, the old standard Makita.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you seen this? Guys? Because this is, you know, it doesn't matter what my hypothesis of a working map might be, or working Earth might be, but it's more this thing about where the hell is China? Because, you know, I can't get into China by land, and when you try and fly to China, there seems to be some rather strange routings and unnecessary legs that always accompany flying to China. The shipping routes are a little harder to kind of discern. There are issues with the way that magnetism and compasses are working. I think that's another interesting conversation. Also, sort of ties into quantum stuff, and I'll get into all of that. I just want to try to kind of keep this on people's minds, because there's already somebody came back to me. A friend sent to another friend who said, "Oh, look, I went and checked all the roads. When you zoom out a bit, it looks like the roads are connected, but once you zoom in, you find that the roads don't actually join up." As I found with the China, India, and Mongolia and all of that, you know, everywhere there's an edge. There's like there's poorly matched terrain and stuff like that. So I don't know where China. I don't know where China is. I've lost China, is what I'm trying to say.
I love it.
And I want people, because this is not, you know, I want other people who have time and the right kind of mind to also, you know, go and look at this, and
I'll have a look. Yeah.
to evaluate, because if you can find a way into China other than the Siberian. The Siberian train, what do they call it? The
Trans-Siberian Express. Yeah, it's the northern side. You're thinking the northern.
Well,
have a look.
So
they're probably hiding it, David. Anyway.
Yeah, well, my theory is that they're hiding it above Russia. I think that actually it's an interesting thing.
I don't know about that.
It might be like that. China is, you know, everything actually came down from China a long time ago. You know, the art of war suggests that the best way to defeat an enemy is to kind of hide in plain sight. You know, so and I don't like to talk in enemy terms like that, but it is a weird thing, because if China isn't where they say it is,
it's like a cloaking device on an entire continent or country. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you looked only on Google, you'd say, well, there's no way into that place other than the Trans-Siberian. And the story with that is that when you get to Ulaanbaatar, the train gets lifted by crane off the tracks and put onto a different bogie, because it's a different gauge in China, right? Yeah, so that's the moment where the trick is happening, because I think it's possible that train goes to China. To Beijing. I believe that occurs, but I think it goes in a different direction. And that's when they switch it at Ulaanbaatar, because you can't walk from Ulaanbaatar to Beijing.
Really?
You can't walk from Ulaanbaatar to Beijing. You can't walk from Beijing to Ulaanbaatar. And so many other places in Mongolia and in the furthest reaches of China. You can't walk to them from Beijing. So there is some strange thing going on with China. And if someone can point me out and say, look, no, you can definitely And I don't mean like a BBC dude went from this place to this place. I don't trust that at all. And they often, when they do get into the northern reaches or the sort of Himalayan parts of China, it's always under guard. It's always you can go here, you can't go there, and so on. So I have no faith that there's any information.
Well, do we know anyone in China? Any truthers know anyone in China? Keep an ear out. So
Yeah.
contact Dave at Trinity if we know someone in China.
Yeah, man. Well, who knows? But it is an incredible mystery, and I started to hypothesize. Right, this is just at the extremes of hypothesis, but I started to hypothesize that what if we're actually the rock that we stand on is actually part of the Creator's spine, and that actually when we look up, we're looking up into the lungs perhaps of the Creator, and at night we can see up into the brain of the Creator. All those neurons that are firing up there are actually part of the Creator's brain. Huge hypothesis. Obviously it's a very large reach, but I just throw that out there for people to chew over and spit out if they like.
I need the pipe for that one. I see where you're going with this. I'll think on that one day.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, it's just we are perhaps within. Well, I mean, if you think about it, if the Creator is that bubble that we were talking about earlier on, that apple, if that is the Creator, the whole of the body of God, then it could be that the Creator is this massive, obviously universally massive being, perhaps in slumber, but yeah, it's just a hypothesis, just food for thought. So, what else do you guys want to talk about? I've actually got my little map off my chest.
The map you made.
Yeah, the map of Monday.
Have you kept working on that? He's got a new, connecting kind of where we met about Africa is more centralized. And have you done more work on that map that you were working on?
My new map?
Yeah.
No, I haven't unfortunately had that opportunity or the headspace, to be honest with you, Rich. But that's something
I tried all of it. AE making back about 5 years ago. Worked on it with a few people, even Tiger Dan back in the day, trying to get it built. Yeah, man, we just literally had files and files. I worked with Cami on an AE years ago and other people to try and nail where everything is. Yeah. I've seen some that is like, well, that looks a bit better, but there's always something missing because you got obviously Mercator's put them continents in the middle, so you don't know if they're there or not. And everything's skewed, what is the size of Greenland and what is the true size of Africa and how far out is South America actually sticking and where exactly is New Zealand and where exactly is Australia? Is Australia even there? With these questions you're asking about China, other people have asked about Australia. It's out there somewhere. Where exactly is it?
Well, I've always felt like if we knew that the original model they gave us, the globe, was a complete lie, and then we found the one on the UN logo, oh, there it is. Why would they do that? If we found it, why wouldn't they put another BS thing? So obviously the continents are all screwed up on that thing because none of the flight paths equal, and we've all talked about it. It's something, but I just feel that I don't know how far away England really is, but maybe because if you get on a plane, maybe they just circle you around a while. And then land you several hours later. Maybe you're only 2 hours away from me, Dave. I don't know.
The only thing that makes sense of it all to me is portals or jumping or getting into, from distances. You've got jet streams to help you along and, like you say, doing circles, dumping fuel, whatever they say, the rubbish that they're doing. But no, something else is definitely going on to make sense of it all. And
just working off of working off all your information and the things that I've done with Jen and Steve about Tartaria and all these red brick buildings and stuff, there was obviously a way more advanced civilization that could make buildings we can't even fathom now. We are the idiocracy society. We're the dummies, and we're holding on to all this technology like it's the end all when actually there was something way better out there. And if we could find a way that we can all disconnect to this and then reconnect to our own inner spirituality, connection, whatever, we'd be able to figure that stuff out again, I think. But it's
we
so
gotta
hard to
remember.
let go of all this. That's the problem.
Listen, we gotta need to remember. You know, if everyone was doing what they're doing, basically what they're doing is they're manifesting the reality that we perceive. If everybody individually shared, though, just set their intent, but you've got to be careful with that, because with selfish people there might be motives.
Yeah, that's sounding very Tower of Babelish. You got to be careful.
Yeah, you've got to be careful. So if it's true, the intent and it's set, and no doubt, then that is 100% going to come into fruition. This thing's going to happen, no doubt about it whatsoever. And they do it. You know, we've been living in their paradigm. You know, but I'm 100% thinking that we're creating. Okay. Yeah, God's not listening when you're going on because he's too busy being you. And that subtle voice that you're listening is you, talking to you. Yeah. You know, I reckon we all know the answers to everything we need to know. We're just looking for confirmation to make sure that we got it right. But I think we know everything. I think we know where we're going. I think we know the outcome. I think we're all going there. I think we're all doing a really good job. And we're where we're supposed to be at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bravo.
Sing hallelujah.
Yeah, but that we're all going there, and nobody should fear, and everyone should really, you know, oh ye of little faith. I keep saying over and over. Is people, you know, I think this might happen, I think that might happen. Fuck me, you've just created a manifestation in your consciousness. That's what you're going to have then. That's your own bad luck, because you really need to watch what you're thinking. If you think out a terrible scenario in your head, I can guarantee a little way down the road that stuff will start to actually happen. You know, this place to a lot of people is purgatory. To myself, sometimes I feel tortured myself. You know, I'm like the same as everybody else in this place, guys. You know, tortured by it. You know, and I'm an empath, so I'm bad as well. You know, I was always going to feel pain in this fucking place, and I knew it. But having said that, though, when you rise your vibration and you're with a good group of people and you can see, you know, there's magic happening there, then it starts to come clear. I think that the truth will only unveil to us when we're ready. Yeah. So it's like an evolution. Sorry to use that word. So consciousness, God, okay, who's busy being you, okay, is evolving with us at the same time. And soon as that point, when we're ready to accept that information, because it may be meaningless at this stage because we haven't learned to, you know, to understand that information to get there. So when we learn all that information, get to that point, click of a finger, and then the veil will be lifted. We're getting there. There's just a bit of a way to go. And as I said to your good wife, Dave, I definitely think we're over the worst with the spiritual attacks. Okay? They tried everything. That was the only thing. They got no hold of us. These demonic entities, right? They can't manifest. They can't feel. They can't do shit in this realm. So what they do is they find a mug on the material plane, a useless idiot who's got a weakness through greed and everything else. So I need drink. I need, you know, this, that, the other, and they will feed on it, and they will destroy that person, no problem whatsoever. So you got to that is, you know, what's happened to most people in this realm, guys. Is that.
You know, and I when you first said it, I said I want to have that optimism, but maybe the more I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm thinking that, you know, there's been a lot of strife, at least I've seen in my personal life. And then when you look at the world scale, it's intense. And so maybe, like you said, that's everything they had. They took everything that they've been building up, because they've been supercharging that ether. I mean, we use the same ether they do, whoever they are, and they've been building that up to just throw the mind splash of whatever that is, that fear, that monstrous, you know, attack, and it hit us like a wave, right? But we're all still here. We're beat
it only takes a handful of us. In a billion people, it only takes a handful of us. Yeah. Look what we said. Purity, and
that's written in the Bible too, where he says, you know, once you feel this, one can beat off hundreds and stuff.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Look at what we absorbed. That's the way we should look at this. Well, thank you, my God, thank you for this. So what we did is we took on a full frontal attack. I can't say it's the last one, but think about it. Everyone in the chat, we took it on. A huge hit, and we got back up and went, that's all you got? I remember to keep doing that. Right?
Yes.
That's all you got? Really?
Yeah.
Watch
That's
the
it.
movie Die Hard. I love that movie. At the end of that, he looks like a hot mess. It's the grossest kiss you'll ever see in Hollywood, too bloody. But it doesn't matter because he beat every one of those dudes down. And at the end of the movie, he goes, "That's all you got," and he gets in the limo and drives off. Right? That's what we got to remember to get up and say, "That's all you got." I don't say mock it. Just say, "Look, go away. My God will just protect me regardless. I'll get through it. I might be beat up, but I'll make
Take them thoughts away first thing in the morning and go to bed happy, and you've nailed it.
Yeah. I love that. No, I love that. That's a really, really optimistic and outlook. I think that's so important because you see, we are. I think we're creators, but I think more specifically, perhaps we're co-creators.
Co-creators. I said that. We are doing
it
individually, but we're doing shared. No two people got the same consciousness. I can see things completely different to you and Richard as well. So none of us perceive consciousness the same way, but we do in a way. It's a bit of a paradox, but we are all one. I think there's only one of us here. I really do. This conscious soup. Yeah. This spooky action at a distance thing, right? What they call, right? I put to the test every single day. I can be, I'll pick up my phone. It'll be 111. Somebody will call me. Oh, look, it's 111, and I just thought of you. And just little synchronicities throughout the day to let you know that this is happening.
Can I just ask you, Mike? Are you on a laptop and is it possibly wobbling the screen?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Because this is like this.
It's that mouse again.
I want to apologize to everyone for the technical difficulties.
It might be me.
And if you didn't hear me say it earlier, I can't read the chat because I don't know where my glasses are, so I'm completely blind.
I've been reading the chat for you. It's been really busy. It's been good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, it's fantastic to have some like-minded folks in the chat. I really appreciate you listening in, and I hope the conversation is useful. You've gained something from it. I think the solidarity we've been shown and the support we've been shown, hopefully we're giving you something back, and it's awesome to have these guys and to have had Tommy earlier.
I just looked at when I just last looked, you had 77 dislikes.
I heard about that.
But you had 88 likes.
Oh, that's
crazy. Never heard of that.
165 or something in total. That's all thumbs. So we can take we can eat them both. The down thumbs and the up thumbs.
The bad thumbs add up on your analytics. It doesn't matter if they're downs or ups. It doesn't matter.
That's what I've always said. I look at everything through comedy now. It's like, if you remember the old Batman TV show with the villains that were so ridiculous over the top, the Joker's in a purple outfit with green hair, and where he robbed the bank, whereas he's over down there, you could see him, and so it's like the villains, whatever we have, they say so much the most ridiculous things and stuff. And you just have to sit back and laugh at it, because it's so over the top.
Yeah, isn't it? It's good to have humor. Actually, we sent friends a clip of me dancing for Alex. We were dancing around the lounge, and I had just been heading to the bath actually, and Alexander asked me to come and dance. So Andrea took this clip of me dancing semi-naked and sent it to these friends, and we all need to have a little bit of a laugh. I would put it on the channel, but
no,
I don't want to embarrass myself.
He wasn't half naked. He was just not fully dressed. But it was more. I think it was more the dance, to be honest.
Yeah, just to have a little bit of fun.
That's unusual for David.
Yeah, I know.
He has his shirt off from April till November.
I know. It's ridiculous.
It's coming off in 2 days.
Yeah, I think laughter is a very important thing, really.
The best medicine, they say.
Yeah, I think actually...
God has a sense of humor. Look at us. You know what I mean? You're not you, me. I'm talking about me.
Well, I saw this little meme where it said, so this soul was up in heaven, and he was given a choice. You can go down to this place called Earth, and you can learn the lessons a really hard way. It's one of the worst experiences you'll possibly have, but you'll learn quickly, and then your soul will grow and evolve. Or you can spend the next thousands and thousands of years and just stay and do it here slowly.
Uh-oh. Are you there still, Martin? I'm there. She's frozen.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
man, I missed
freezing.
the ending. This sucks.
No, because you'll pick up at the end of where she just spoke, and maybe not. But they're frozen.
I hope so.
Oh, you're still there. Awesome. Sorry about the
Yes,
technical.
we're still there. You frozen. We missed
I
that
missed
last
the
bit.
ending.
You missed the end?
Yeah.
Dead with her soul said, "Oh, fuck that! I'm not going down to Earth. I will spend thousands and thousands of years getting my soul to grow."
Millions of years.
Yeah, didn't want to go down to that Earth plane
Didn't want to do
and have
80
that
rounds.
experience.
Yeah, with the Baphomet.
Yeah.
Some shit.
Anyway,
Man,
Well, I guess unless you guys have got anything like sorry,
the
Yeah.
cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody.
Peace.
boy, somebody does not want her to
Yeah.
tell the story.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're losing our screen.
Every time you tell the ending, it just
Go like that.
every
I'm
time.
like, what? We're not even on the end. It's just stopped.
We're all like this. Yeah.
Cool. Like that, yeah.
I think it's one of Dave's subscribers, Markham Melbourne. He doesn't like it when I talk on the channel.
He's glitching us out.
That's what it is.
Oh, you
No,
Aussies.
we'll never know the ending. No, we can't end like this.
Everyone's enjoying it anyway.
So how does it end? The soul says, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not going down there. I'd rather spend 1 billion years working it out upstairs.
Fuck yeah.
Oh,
It's not the best
gonna-
option, is it?
anyway.
This is the best ending you've had yet, Dave. I got to tell you.
We're having technical.
All right.
Awesome.
You're having technical.
Well, I'm going to say thank you very much.
Thank you, David. I hope I see you before you shoot off to wherever.
So much love to you all. Thanks in the chat room for every much the support we got from Solar Return.
It's a pleasure. Thank you both for having me here to
Thanks.
talk. Pleasure meeting you. And it's always good to see you. And God bless you all and everyone in the chat. God bless you and your families. And we'll make it. So thanks again.
Hey.
Yeah. I look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you guys again soon, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, everybody go well and
Yeah,
And-
be well, man.
yeah, be
Don't
well.
let the system get in your head. Stay zen.
Yeah, man. Oh, and best of luck on your ventures, you
Fine.
two. The
Do the
trainings.
breathing and the meditating, the earthing.
and that's
Oh, you're glitching.
No,
It's not fair, is it?
time to
know.
go.
I think it's time to go.
All right,
Lots
then.
of love.
So, guys, thank you, Richard.
You.
Thank you, Mike.
Peace and love. Goodbye, bud. Awesome, David. Thanks so much for that.
Thank
Love you, Buzz. Richard, Nostar. Good night, mate.
Night.